7:03, we'll resume the meeting here. Amendments to the agenda. Any amendments needed? Oh, sorry. Yes, let's do the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any amendments needed? Joe, did you have?
Yes, sir. We had an application for tax stabilization come in today at 1 o'clock, if the board is interested in taking that up today.
Are you ready for it, or do you want to put it on?
Well,
Warn it.
as an educational process,
It's,
perhaps.
if the board would be willing to accept it at the next meeting, our policy does say before the first of the year. It must be approved, but if the board's willing to take it at the next meeting, I think that's acceptable.
It's in our hand. Is that like a postmark?
I guess.
So introduce it under new business, Joe, and then the board can
Yeah,
add
We
it to
can
the next
table it or whatever
agenda.
we got.
Yeah.
So
New business?
E would be
That's the only thing?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll make a motion to add a tax abatement request under new business.
no.
no, tax stabilization.
Tax stabilization request under new business 10E. Does that sound right?
Second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Rod. Any other changes needed?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Approval of the minutes from December 14th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Rod to approve the December 14th minutes. Any corrections needed? Glenn, did you have anything?
Nope, I look good.
Okay. Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Okay, that motion carries.
Carol is absent. Glenn is here.
Glenn is online. Yep. 5 minutes for public comment. Yep, go ahead.
Hi, I'm here to ask the board to reconsider their consensus to include the local option tax on the March ballot. Procedurally, I'm disappointed that this was added to the agenda at the last minute without any warning, but as a change to the agenda to add under budget review. Had I known, I would have been here for that discussion. This was voted down twice, now for the third time, and there is no change and no solicitation as to why the voters rejected the local option tax twice. Where is the money coming from? The town's revenue is someone else's expense. This is not free money. The question is, are the residents of Fairhaven getting back more money, more tax money than they are putting into the local option tax? The town gets back less than 70% of the tax collected and sent to the state. This only works financially if out-of-town shoppers spend more than enough to offset the 30+% deficiency paid for by the residents of Fairhaven. This tax is a transfer of tax burden. Property owners see a decrease in taxes at the expense of everyone that shops in Fairhaven or has a Fairhaven mailing address that shops on the internet. The tax is regressive, meaning that low-income people pay a disproportionate higher share of their income into the tax. 14% of Fairhaven residents live in poverty. Pilot revenues from the state will remain unchanged with or without the implementation of this new tax. The brochure published for past votes seems to suggest otherwise. Tax revenue generated from internet sales is unknown. This is a critical piece of information to have because the town receives less than 70% of the tax collected, all paid for by people with mailing addresses in Fairhaven. The other 30% is a tax burden on these residents of Fairhaven to subsidize the state. Saying that Fairhaven is similar to Colchester is a ridiculous comparison and irrelevant. Colchester has 18,000 people, 2,200 in Fairhaven. Colchester's median income is $83,000. versus 54,000 in Fairhaven. Higher prices result in less demand and fewer sales. This will have a negative effect on businesses in Fairhaven. Maybe the lower tax rate is the reason New Yorkers shop in Fairhaven. It was the consensus of the board to include the local option tax on the March ballot. It has not been voted on, so it is not too late for the board to reconsider. I urge you to get the facts before making a decision of putting this before the voters. Be sure this is beneficial to Fairhaven. Be aware of all the impacts of the local option tax. When the board does vote on this, please consider what problem are we trying to solve with imposing the local income tax? Who is paying the local income tax? Can that group afford it? Is Fairhaven getting more money back from the state than the residents of Fairhaven put into the tax pot? How is success defined? Consider that the non-affluent, an extra 50 cents spent on buying household essentials is a meaningful amount of money. Many less privileged people are very careful with their money. So I urge you to have a process that includes due diligence, do the research, get the information first so you're fully aware of the implications. I can't weigh in if this is a good option for Fairhaven or not without having facts. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you.
Happy to discuss, but
Any discussion or not? Joe?
Do you want to just throw out the numbers that you shared with us for the record?
Yeah, so the preliminary numbers that, with help from the state economist and updated numbers for this year and the end of last year, we're looking at bringing in, with the local option tax, is about $160,000 revenue. There is a 30% that goes to the state to manage that program. On top of, there's a small fee for every business that files, depending on quarterly or yearly, so that fee comes out too. So I think when it was all boiled down, it was between $100,000 and $110,000 to the town they would keep in that tax revenue. That is not inclusive of online purchases. Those numbers the state does not provide. I've called myself and they just don't, that and alcohol sales, they stonewall me on these, they just don't provide it. And that's as far as I can go with those numbers.
okay, here's where I have a real serious big problem. The $160,000 that is being collected in the local option tax is $160,000 that's going to be put in to reduce the property taxes in Fairhaven. It's not new money, it's not free money. Your expenses are not going to change as a result of the local option tax. And the idea that you can't get at a key piece of information is cause for pause. And I really have trouble believing that there aren't other ways of getting at it. Either by doing some type of research in terms of what percentage of internet sales, what percentage of purchases are internet versus retail. And if you have an issue where you're going to shop local, pay more, I have a problem with that. I don't think it's healthy for Fairhaven. If you can prove that we put in, the residents of Fairhaven put in $50,000 and the residents of Fairhaven get $110,000 back from the state, well, that is the first benchmark that has to be made. Then once you consider that the state, that we're getting back more money than we're putting in, the next level is, are the right people paying the bill? Are we just shifting the tax burden from the property taxpayer or water, sewer, take your pick, to everybody in Fairhaven, everybody that shops in Fairhaven? And that's I have a serious concern about that too. And I think whether it's 160,000 or 100,000, the magnitude isn't the difference. The difference is, are we getting back more than we're putting in? And if we're not, it's a no-starter for me.
All right. Yep. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for hearing me.
Yeah, no problem. I don't know. Anybody else for public comment? John?
Only going along with what Mr. Scott's talking about, is there a special entity that this money would be put into, like to pay off some of the loan for the new sewer plant down here, or what? What's this money gonna be used for? Both entities pass.
Joe had put, is in the flyer that Joe's working on, a lot of it would go straight to infrastructure costs, is what Joe's ideas are, right?
Sure. So if it does pass there's more than enough money to take the $76,000 right out of your operating budget. So that money, it will transfer away from your property tax and move that burden onto more like a sales tax, which does shift the cost away from just a property owner to everybody who shops in Fairhaven, which includes folks from New York, for example. If there is an excess, we'd have to start an account and then earmark that money for projects. Folks like Colchester, they vote. They say, what projects do you want and where do you want to spend your money? Because we have, just say $10,000, for example, in local option tax. Do you want to paint your fence? Do you want to repair your roof? Just as examples. So, and that seems like an equitable way to do it. Ask the taxpayer how they want to use the money.
But again, you're not doing things that wouldn't need to be done otherwise. I mean, you shouldn't be, in my opinion, but that's up to you. But so all you're doing is taking and reducing the property taxes for things that need to be done. And what you've added in place of it is that you're committed. These funds are all of a sudden restricted to doing certain things that the voters say that are restricted to. And it doesn't mean that you can't go and take money out of someplace else. But it's a net sum zero game in terms of expenses, unless you find a way where the money's coming in from outside and it's going to directly reduce expenses. But that's not the way I see it.
Anything else, John?
Yeah, I got one thing.
Yep.
And, day before Christmas, I noticed it's on the agenda. We got a tax sale published. To me, that's kind of a rough, rotten thing to do just before the Christmas day. Could have waited another week.
All right, thank you. Anybody else for public comments? All right, thank you. Department head reports. Aaron, do you want to go?
My apologies for getting kicked off the virtual last meeting. Some info from that meeting as well as in time, from then to now. Highway end of it, continue to see storm events, relatively minor in accumulation, but the icing and stuff like that make it very difficult. To date, we've used or have in the salt shed 250 tons of salt, which is a little over last year, but going back, it puts us on par for, a rolling 5 years or so. Sand, about 200 yards or so have been used. Last weekend with that icing event, over Christmas, trying to get guys in and out to get the work or keep the roads maintained and actually have them be able to maintain some sort of a family Christmas for themselves. Overall went well. No dramatic issues with vehicles. The other stuff, they've been working, keeping trucks put together. Before the previous meeting with the changing of back and forth of these temperatures, quite a few of the dirt roads as well as areas where we've been plowing. A lot of the roads were acting like mud season already on us, so the dump road was one of the harder ones for us. We ended up having to get the grader unchained and get down there with material to make that road even passable again. But thankfully we're coming back into it's freezing up a little bit on that. And thank you to the board for coming down and looking through our equipment and the barn to see to actually put some faces in the barn for the board members. It helps us to see that through. You guys do support us. Water and Casellas, as well as you probably all know, made the repairs on Adams Street Bridge. Did come in under budget. That is holding up very well, and very happy with that. The National Guard building has their new 6-inch sprinkler feed line into the building. It's been pressure tested, bacteria tested, and it is now in operation up to the building, or it is operable up to the building. They're still working on the inside, getting the rest of that system put together. Still working with them to hopefully use that 6-inch feed line as their potable water, so we can discontinue their 3-inch line that feeds it currently for that purpose, so there's not 2 lines going into that building, and hopefully we use one, or they'll use one and make it work well. So the weekend of the 18th, 19th, we had a significant water leak down at the wastewater plant in the control building. The contractor that was doing some work had not tightened down a fitting that the 1.5-inch water line that fed into that control building. That blew apart at some point Saturday afternoon and was discovered when the operators got there 6 o'clock Sunday morning. Running the reports and pulling the information, we estimate or have the loss at about 200,000 gallons that ran through that control building that Saturday afternoon through the Sunday before we got the water line shut off. Did destroy the floor, the new floor that was put down the Thursday before that, as well as all the electrical components that were in that room, the new storage area / mechanical room. Were all drastically affected. Those are all being replaced, as well as the floor and anything that got destroyed or damaged is all being replaced through the contractor's insurance. It has pushed out the completion of the interior of that building at least 2 to 3 weeks. That's the estimate current, but as we know, nothing is coming in on time if it has to come in parts and pieces. The water lost is also being billed to the insurance company, so we'll be preparing a bill for them to pay us for the water that ran through that building. Otherwise, everything up the water plant seems to be going fairly well. Mike had a meeting with a electrical engineer to start discussion on the electrical upgrade for controls up there, for getting plans together, whether we find funding through hopefully ARPA funding or infrastructure money to try and get some of that stuff updated, and get those old graph and big electrical cabinet removed and make it something that everybody can, or common electricians can work on, not people with, bigger licenses. Sewer plant, minus the hiccup of the water leak, the upgrade is still going fairly well. The big deal is still that equipment stuff showing up. The meeting I had with them today again, the higher ups, even the Naylor and Breen, are chasing some of the vendors and contractors to find out where equipment is, and the vendors just will not give a date. Stuff's going to be shipped, but we don't know what we're shipping you, but we're sending you something in the next week or two. So still working on that very well. Before the last meeting, the Department of Environmental A&R was down to do inspection on the a plant. Just since we're under construction, it's more of a stop in and say how everything's going. They won't do an official scored review while you're under construction. We did get the written report back from them. They're very happy with how everything's going down there. They had a few items for us to improve on. The biggest one was one of our thermometers that's in our lab refrigerator had not been calibrated the last time that people were through calibrating our stuff. So that was our big ticket item, was we had missed calibration on a thermostat or a thermometer in our refrigerator. They're very happy with the contractors, how they're progressing and how responsive they are to our needs. That's a big issue in a lot of upgrades sounds like, is when the operators need help with something, because every day when they're working on that plant, they're affecting stuff at the plant. And if it negatively affects the operations, the operators, have to work in some extra time or extra effort to get it back. As soon as they ask for help from the contractors, they're helping them. So they're very impressed with that and very happy with that. Adams Street Pump Station, the transfer station switch is in for the new generator. Again, that's been pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. We're in the process now of getting one of our portables somehow hooked up to at least run half of that station, because effectively that's what we can do now with the mechanical generator that's in the facility. So an electrical generator that'll run one pump is still the same thing. But once we do that, we can have the control panel that's been sitting in storage for a while now installed. We did have a day last week where that pump station would not run by itself. The operator had to sit down there for 10 hours manually running that mechanical gas motor pump to run the pump station. So thankfully we had a company come out and got it back operating. It's on life support now, so we're going to make that change to that control panel come after high water, so. That's all I got for you for now.
All right. Any questions for Aaron?
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Aaron. Police department?
The police chief's update was pretty brief this week. He said the holidays have been good to the department. Calls are down. They are still doing traffic enforcement. But again, it's been pretty slow and steady these last couple of weeks.
Go ahead, he just needed a
Okay,
drink.
that's all I got for police.
How about yours?
Town manager. There's always a little bit for the town manager. We did finally get our fund balance information in. This year for 010 for the general fund. We had an increase in the fund balance by $72,329.11.
You're gonna have to repeat that.
I'll give you a sheet.
Okay, thank you.
I'll give you Glenn's sheet.
Well, maybe you did it with that. Excuse me. I got it, thank you, I'm sorry.
Yep. And then DPW, they were also in the plus this year. Their increase to their fund balance was $47,148.62.
In contrast, that was negative last year, right?
It was negative last year, yes, sir. And moving on. I did make some, for the board's approval, I did make some updates to the local option tax flyer. If there's any more edits from you guys, let me know. Let's see, we talked major water leak already. Aaron, he didn't mention it, but right now we're working, we're still coordinating with the state to get the water line underneath Main Street replaced. So the state kicked back paving from 2023 to 2024. It gives us some breathing room. That water main that runs underneath Main Street is on the list to be replaced. That was, a study was done a few years back. And that was one of the things that they recommended doing. I reminded our folks, our committees about the ARPA funds, asked them to get their suggestions in by the 7th. I think I only have 3 committees that have responded. Last Saturday, I got to meet Santa and Flavor the Cow at Stewart's, at the Stewart's opening. So. we
What's
missed
your
it.
name, the cow?
Flavor.
Flavor.
Lights in the park, so our projects, lights in the park and the park and ride. I called the state and asked them if we could expedite this. It seemed like we were gonna sit on our hands for a while waiting for NEPA, the environmental review to go through. They said just to hold off. They said if we put this out to bid at the wrong time, which would be like in December next year, our costs would be exorbitant. So they said just wait, 2023 is most likely our best bet. We finally signed a contract for the town hall renovation. We'll be having the pre-construction meeting the week of the 4th, so next week. Next week for that one. Playground replacement, we have a March time frame for delivery of that equipment, and they said that it'll take about 4 days to install. So when the stuff gets here in March, it should go in the ground pretty quickly. Sidewalks Downtown, I spoke to the state. They sent over the paperwork for the municipal manager, and that is moving forward. We can expect to have our first meeting sometime in early, I'll say mid-January. Dog park, this is exciting. Our wetland permit came through this morning. So the dog park can be used at this point. I spoke to our auditor. They're gonna do some training for us in the May timeframe. We've had some staff turnover and possibly more staff turnover come March. So we want to get people trained up with our accounting system. The board requested that I start developing, I think I say this right, Gantt sheets. Is that how you say it? I started working through that. I've developed 3 of them so far. I'll start creating more and then updating those as time goes on. And Bigelow Hill. So the guys did a great job during that big Christmas storm. And we actually got a call from a family on Bigelow Hill thanking us for keeping their roads open. And that's, oh, here we go. I'm still going, sorry. I put on the, I think it might have been on the table or in the packet, the voter's guide. I intended to do this again. Is the board still in favor of sending out a voter's guide? I'll need to start with,
Specifically this voter's guide or?
no, one that looks like this. No, this one is last year's.
I think it's helpful.
It's helpful, yeah.
You know, just to, transparency in government. And that's what I have for you today.
Okay, questions for Joe?
Just make sure to keep the voter's guide to fact.
Keep the what?
Keep it to facts.
Facts and not opinion. Or...
Yeah. And then on the local option tax information, if this does go out, I'm not sure that we can say the last in red.
What's
I'm
it
not
say?
sure you can tell people that
They must vote for both.
they must be voted yes for the thing that they both have to vote yes.
Might be able to
Feels-
say it in the voter's guide.
Leading.
It's,
I don't know.
well, both
I understand
both
that
need
it's-
to both need to pass for it to take effect. So maybe pass.
I-
Both need to pass for this to take effect.
the wording
Yeah,
worried me a little.
you can
That-
wordsmith it a little bit. So,
Could be just me.
Glenn?
I was just saying that the thing we were trying to do.
You
Jeff,
need an
maybe
L
the
there.
reason we didn't say it, was that we had confusion last time with people voting yes for one and no for the other.
Yep.
And I don't believe they realize that if you don't vote no, or yes, the vote pretty much doesn't accomplish anything.
That's right.
Yep.
That's
No,
all
no,
the
and
only
yes,
point
no.
we're trying to do. There might be a better way to say it,
Yes is
but
good.
that is factual.
True. It is fact.
All right. Other questions for Joe?
Is this was that being sent out? to-
Yeah. For the local option tax.
Yeah.
Yes, we will send that out
When's it gone out?
as soon as I finish wordsmithing it and get board approval.
When is that?
Next meeting.
And
After next meeting.
Joe, going to, like, we have 2 informative meetings on the local option tax. Is that gonna be more timely when we send that out so that people can use that as a reference to ask questions if it doesn't answer them?
Yeah, so our first meeting is on January 25th. If I get board approval on the 11th, get all the edits in, we can get them out that week, and people will have it in their hand for that meeting.
Okay, thank you.
That works, I think.
Unless you're happy with it now, and then we can,
I have some comments.
if you send them, I can, yeah.
So let's try to approve something on the 11th at the next. That'll give Joe time to. Get them mailed out. Other questions for Joe? No? All right, thank you, Joe. Old business, fireworks permit?
So we sent the permit over to the lawyer again to take a look, and they were happy with this one. Particularly, they were pleased with the liability insurance. They felt like that really covered it, so.
Have you guys seen this?
If that's what you sent to me,
It is.
the last one, then yes. And that was all I was asking for in the last meeting, so I hope
Not
that's
that,
good for you guys.
not that it necessarily matters, but yeah.
The only question I have is like 5, 6, 7. Probably should just say vendor instead of C&C, in case there's another vendor that comes into town and wants
All
to
of them, right?
Yeah.
wants to sell
One-
as well.
Because this is a generic permit.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
So-
if somebody else wants to come in and sell, they would use the same permit. So that's the only. If we change C&C to vendor, I would be fine with that, and
But have
Unless you're gonna change.
But you
it.
have to have something just up in the top to say who the vendor is
Yep,
and their address, you know, the basic information. Then that makes it generic, and then you can say vendor throughout.
what do you think, Joe?
I will make those changes.
Easy?
Super easy.
perfect. Is there a motion to approve with the
Um,
mentioned changes?
I'll make a motion to approve with the changes, for discussion,
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
because there's no one else here to do it.
No. Glenn's there, you can make a motion. Glenn, do you have the draft?
I do, and I'll second that motion. I think it looks good. I like the changes.
You're too late.
You're too late, Jeff said it. So,
Okay, just
so-
like the changes.
so motion by Jeff, seconded by Rod, to approve the fireworks sales permit with the changes as mentioned. Questions or comments on the motion?
I appreciate all the time that the board has put into this. I know there's been a lot of
Yep.
back and forth nitpicky about with this word or that word, so I appreciate Joe, for instance, for putting the amount of time in as he has. I think this is gonna work for everybody. I think that after a year, when I come in to renew this permit, it'll be a easy process, hopefully. And, yeah, so we're looking forward to coming into, Fairhaven, and if it's voted yes, I would hope that if there's a Fairhaven website or a new business place, that you guys would be proud to say that we're coming to town May 1st, and hopefully you guys stop by.
Great, we appreciate you working with us too. Glenn, did you have any?
No, I think we're good.
You're good on your-
Looking forward to seeing how it's gonna work.
All right.
Joe, and it might just be a bad copy on mine. Item 3, the very last, in view, does that say of, or is that a mistype?
It should say of, but I will.
I know what it should say, but I,
It's of.
yeah,
That's what it
it's,
says.
I looked at some of the other ofs,
Yeah.
and they're not crunched together like that, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think
So
It's
just,
a
if it says of, that's fine. If
No,
it
I'll fix
doesn't,
it.
then,
It's something
Fix
about
it, yeah.
margin.
Yeah. No. I mean, if we're gonna go back, we may as well fix it. Yeah.
yeah, right.
All right, any other questions or?
I'm good.
I guess we're all set to go.
So,
It's a go.
I would hope that, if you guys do sign it tonight, we would be very beginning of April, come in, put down the money, and hopefully that's when they would do a start date of.
Yeah,
April,
because this
whenever.
is just the permit
Yeah.
application.
We-
We'll get it to
we're-
you guys, fill it out, and then we'll,
Okay, awesome.
it'll have to
But
come
that's
to
what
it.
but just so the board knows,
Yeah.
I'm thinking April 1st as far as the
Okay.
payment and,
Should be fine.
Well, it doesn't have to come before the board again, right?
Goes
Because
to
we
Joe,
made a
right?
motion and seconded and
Yeah, I think
voted
that
on it.
once you
True.
make the
It's
changes,
just-
that's it.
We're
Gotcha.
approving a general permit.
Yep.
For if Jim wants to come in and sell fireworks, this is the permit he's gonna get.
Okay.
Same as you guys. That's why we had to change C&C.
Okay.
It shouldn't have ever been written
okay, right.
like
So
that.
Specifically to,
We
okay.
should mention that though, because there's a spot for 5.
I don't know anybody else stupid enough to do this.
Agreed.
Is
Yeah,
it an
so-
administrative permit or is it a?
Yeah, so is this coming to the board or are you approving it?
If the board, I think the board has to approve these. If the board approves it tonight, I can just have the clean copy ready, and as I see you, you can just sign it. I just need it on record that you approve it.
So can
They're
we,
not gonna be asking for the permit until April.
Well, we'll ask for it now. We'll just date it in April.
Yeah, we're not, that's
I
what
just
I'm.
don't wanna put it on the
I'm not-
agenda again.
I'm not in agreement with post-dating, so we'll,
Okay.
I mean, we're gonna sign it,
Yeah, okay. That's all we care is that you say yes and we can get the ball rolling, that's all.
but when you come in to do it, you're gonna have to have the insurance.
Yep.
Yeah, oh yeah,
that's no
absolutely,
problem.
that's 100%.
Well, that's
That's
absolutely.
like you said last time, it's a phone call, it's.
Yeah.
so just to clarify, we're approving the permit or we're actually the form or we're approving the form and their permit?
Well, we're approving the form. If they fill this out, it's
Yeah.
done. Well,
No,
no, it's not until we
not.
sign it.
We're just we're approving a form. They would have
They
to
have to
submit
come
the
back.
form.
Right, right. But they're looking to do it in
Bureaucracy at its
April.
finest, but yes.
They're looking to start it in April.
Correct.
Is there, just a question, isn't there some, they have to do something with zoning and once they get a location? This is just a permit sale. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, right. If you have to get zoning or, anything else, that's not inclusive to
Reads in
this.
Fairhaven, whether you need
Sure.
zoning or not.
Well, then I would invite you to
Inquire.
visit our
Yeah.
zoning administrator,
Yeah.
and make sure. But this is not a superseding of the other.
No, of course, of course not, yeah,
Of course not.
That was my point, Rob. It
Yeah.
doesn't supersede
Yeah.
the permit.
Yes.
So, yeah. I would hesitate, because the next board, if they do it in April, it's the next board that's gonna sign it.
No, I would agree.
So, I mean,
Or should we do it before that? I mean,
can you
does
do
it
it?
make any difference when you sign it?
Well, it's just written for a
It's
year,
just-
so I didn't wanna have the year end at the end of, in the middle of our fireworks season, so I was hoping that, just saying that we'd be in April to
In it
pay
at a
the.
time, but
yeah, but they, yeah, it's in the off season. Does it matter that you're doing it now?
No?
No,
Don't matter to us
no,
now?
I mean,
I think it's just more, they're prepared.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, it's a phone call or insurance company, that's not a no-brainer, that's easy.
Okay, so is the motion to approve the form and the, permit application?
Form,
was
he's
the
gotta
form.
fill out the,
Okay,
you gotta fill it out and come back.
sure, okay, you got it, see you guys
Because we
again.
like to see you at every
Well,
meeting.
yeah, apparently. I gotta use driving over
I
here
need-
anyway, so.
I just need it filled out in front of me before
Sure.
I'm gonna say that I approved it.
Absolutely.
Right, and the insurance form's gotta be attached.
Yeah, okay.
And Joe actually needs to wordsmith this just a little bit.
Yeah, those changes.
Because
So
he
we're
loves
good.
working on this.
We're good,
permit.
we're good. I mean, at least we
This is
can
my
start
second
our
favorite
ball
project.
rolling.
Right.
The permit
That's what I-
process
you know.
is in place. In a minute here,
Yep.
you'll have the application, you can approve it.
Okay,
Awesome.
You can submit it and then we'll
Yeah.
take action on
Okay, thank you, guys.
perfect. Thank
So
you.
all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the
And-
motion carries.
You're gonna bring it back to the next meeting for signatures, is that the
Well,
plan?
no, they're gonna bring it in
Yeah.
their application. We sign it when we approve the application.
As soon as Joe, lets me
Oh,
know that
okay.
it's,
Got
that's
it.
the application,
I got it.
I'll grab it, fill it out, I'll have the insurance stuff and set it up for whatever
Yeah.
meeting that's appropriate to be at.
Yeah, he'll be
What-
here, cause I'll be in Florida.
What day do you want it? So if this is not pertinent until May, we're right in the middle of budget season and this conversation is eating up a lot of the
Sure.
airtime. So if we can wait till May, let's wait till May.
Okay, so, yeah, towards spring, I mean, I'd like to be open before May,
I would-
May first, so,
April.
as long as it's April, that sounds great to me,
April,
Joe.
okay.
Please,
Cause we
thank
gotta
you,
get
sir.
the truckers lined
But
up.
Joe,
and
can you show us the permit though before then? I just
Yes,
forward out the copy of the
I will.
finished.
The edited copy.
Yes.
And- Should there be a signature for the permittee? There is no signature.
You can add a signature line, that's fine.
It's just an acknowledgement that they understand.
Yep.
That's usually what the signature is for.
Yep.
You know what I mean, Joe?
I do.
Thanks, Joe. Thank
All
you
right,
guys.
so we have
Thank
an
you,
approved
guys.
form.
Thank you guys.
Joe will get the approved form and you guys submit it?
Yeah, at least we can get the ball rolling and
Yep.
get things squared away for moving stuff.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Once
Wow.
you have that, they should be able to come anytime and get that.
Yeah.
I'm confused. This was
You're not the
approving
only
a
one.
generic form for sales permit?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, got it.
fireworks sales.
Fireworks sales permit, yeah.
But the form is for fireworks sales only?
Yes.
I think we got bogged down in a couple different things there.
You definitely did.
Joe's not sure.
No, no, I'm not
You're not what?
sure if we got bogged down.
Oh.
But I will make those changes.
Yeah, no, we've got the form, it's all set, and they can apply to sell fireworks.
Yep.
Claire can apply to sell fireworks, anybody has the form then.
I don't plan to.
I've ordered my fireworks to sell now.
Alright, perfect. Get your form in place first.
It's a process.
Alright, new business, further discussion of town garage visit.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure this, I dropped that on there, just, I didn't know if the board wanted to have a further conversation about the site visit today or not, but I thought it would be nice to have that option if you wanted to have it. I wasn't looking for anything out of that, it's the board's.
Just so that we appreciated the guy's time taking us through.
I'd like to understand how many hours are on each piece of equipment. Not necessarily the miles, because you really, you don't gauge that equipment on
No,
miles as much as it is hours.
We can get that.
My general impression of all the equipment was, it looked like you guys were doing a pretty good job taking care of it down there. And there's been a few hiccups with some of it.
Anything else? I mean, I think it's good to get out. You know, I'd like to, you know, maybe every once in a while we can go up to the sewer plant or water plant and just kind of get out and see what's going on in the field. Kind of helps. I think does help a little bit.
And staff like to show off. They're very proud of their equipment and their plants and what they do. They love to talk about it, so, yeah.
Well, and the idea was that it tied in with the capital plan, to see that equipment before we made big decisions that last for 5 years. Actually put some eyes on it.
But we talked about, you know, it's, the years are a known fixed.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some equipment that is less years than it is, you know, well, it's not years.
Yeah.
The excavator, the
Loader.
loader, you know, they're big ticket items, and we've had a loader for years and years, but we haven't had an excavator until recently. To sit there and say that we need to replace that in, and I'm just using an example, that we need to replace it in 6 years is, I don't necessarily agree with that. So, yeah. That's, I guess I'd like to explore a better way, maybe not a better way, a different way. A different measurement, yes, than years on that type of equipment.
We know the trucks. I mean, we know we've
Truck-
had those.
trucks
Those
are-
have cycled. We know those. It's the newer equipment that we're not necessarily sure on.
And hoses break on loaders and excavators, and you know, it's different.
Yeah.
And you know, like one of the trucks a few years ago, I don't think I was on the board at the time. It was down because the operator, and I'm not laying fault, the operator hit something in the road and took out the plow, and it was down for a while. I'd like to be able to say, okay, that failure to perform was not due to a mechanical error as much as it was a hazard, and it would have happened to any piece of equipment. You know, when you keep track of how you talked about keeping track of the downtime. You know, if we can categorize the downtime to say wear and tear, mechanical failure, versus you hit something, or you know, just it unforeseeable, and it would have happened to any piece of equipment, new or used.
For sure.
That's a different kind of failure.
Yep, but we talked down there that the amount of money we've spent on repair items to make it run versus how much money we've spent over the years on it for the wear pieces, the pieces that we expect even on a new piece of equipment. We're gonna be changing those regardless, those are changing, but the breakdowns that are not inclusive of a mechanical or a wear piece.
Well, but yeah, there's some, I mean, even like the chain on the bed, okay, that's wear and tear, okay, but I'm talking about a truck being out because something got hit. Some hazard in the road that could not be seen, or maybe it could be seen.
Either way, right.
It's not a matter of blame, it's a matter of, okay, let's take that out.
If it
of the
was,
equation.
if it was 1 day old, it would still would have been the same result.
Right, that's right.
Other than downtime, though, insurance should cover that repair, right? It shouldn't have a huge cost associated with it. depending on what you hit or whatever.
Yes, well, road hazard, I'm not sure the insurance covers
I don't know.
that.
I don't know how it works.
I don't think it happened on that truck.
The plow incident you're talking about was an insurance claim.
It was insurance claim, okay.
The insurance company will pay that.
Okay.
But Aaron, you talked about a work order system. I mean, that would, you'd be able to keep
Great
track of all
idea.
that stuff in there.
Yep.
You'd be able to punch it right down to
Mhm.
whatever you guys set up for different scenarios.
And that, but to the excavator type thing, we're in full agreement down there. That's something we need to learn out. The age for us is an easy way to say this is the plan versus trying to come up with at this amount of money per year and replace, or parts cost to keep this truck running, we're gonna replace it. Well, that only works so well unless two trucks catch up at the same time, costing us the same money. Now we're two trucks deep in 1 year's time versus we can just roll that plan and keep going and going and going. And those big ticket items, yeah, when they hit, they hurt, but they're, the way I like to see it is that we project this plan out there and get it so, like Nate and I were saying, we want the uptime. The downtime is why we get frustrated. When a truck goes down, it's just stressful for all of us to try and keep the roads maintained, stuff, water system, the sewer system maintained, when we have to fight to get the equipment to just do the job we're asking of it. So to just keep that plan moving, the age of it, trying to factor in at what point is it most cost effective to get rid of that vehicle where it has the most money back to us from the initial purchase. If we run it to fail, there's no money left for us at the end to help out with that new payment or the new truck or whatever else working. So at some point you can go past where the trade-in value or even private sale value of it is not, there's nothing left. So.
All right, other? Oh, all right, thanks, Aaron. Grant match for the playground. Now that you've got it ordered, Joe, you need some money
Yeah,
to pay for it?
yeah, please. So I looked back in the minutes and there was discussion of a grant match, but there was never any actual motion for the match, so it put me in a spot. But so back, I think it was 2019, we talked about 20,000 as grant match. We're not asking for that much, but we do need $16,087 to match this grant.
Okay. Discussion or?
Just a question, Mr. Glenn, do we have that money in our grant match fund that hasn't been earmarked already?
Yes. The grant match hasn't been, the grant match really hasn't been touched. I mean, a little bit here and there, but not enough to, there's something like 90,000 in there now, Glenn.
Okay.
How much is the grant?
But none of that's earmarked, is what you're saying?
Some of it is earmarked, but not, there's enough to cover 16,000.
Okay.
Other questions?
Originally, were we planning on that? How much?
Yes, originally we were planning on 20,000.
Okay, that's my question.
Thank you.
Alright, so Joe would need a motion, I believe, to,
Use an amount not to exceed $16,087.
Yes.
Nice round number. From the grant match fund for matching funds to replace playground equipment, along with the cash raised. Right? Do we need to mention?
I think the cash raised was the cash raised for that. Just a grant match.
Okay.
just a grant, you need a motion, okay?
Yeah, so move.
Second, so motion by Jeff was to authorize up to $16,087 from the grant match fund, to go towards the playground equipment. Questions on that?
When will you see when will we see kids playing on this?
April. I spoke with her
Permitting?
today. I'm sorry?
Is it permitting?
Seems ambitious.
They were pretty firm with their numbers. I checked them today to ask when, and they said early March, and I said, well, how long does it take to put in? They said 4 days. Like there wasn't, they said they'll take it off.
Concrete?
There must be, yeah.
Concrete around the posts or something.
I would assume there is, that's big equipment.
What is, and then I see there's safety surface that we have to do, that's not included in this.
That is included in that number. The safety surfaces, so they wanted to charge us $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 for safety surface.
Okay.
That seems ridiculous to me, with $2,500 to install that. I think we can get it for much cheaper. So, yeah.
Any other questions on the motion?
I don't know.
No. Glenn, do you have any?
No, no question.
Okay. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries.
Sweet.
And we're finally moving forward with the playground.
Nice.
The kids are all at college now, but.
Yes, but
I have fond memories of when we almost had.
they can come back.
But their kids are gonna be.
Their kids, that's right.
Not quite the 6-year plan, right?
Okay.
Trailer tax sale. Joe, what do you got on that?
Yeah, so we're still chugging along, trying to collect our back taxes. This particular property, has not paid taxes since 2017. They currently owe $3,409.77. This is just a mobile home unit at 8 Lockburn Avenue. There is no property attached to this. Today, if the board wishes, they can place the minimum bid on this property or not. But I have to bring it to the board to see if you want to buy it or bid on it.
It's not occupied?
It is occupied.
It is occupied.
This is a weird situation. I know John had mentioned it earlier. The family that owned it, they left 3 years ago. The property owner moved his family into the trailer, but never paid any taxes and didn't buy the trailer. So it's like we have somebody squatting in somebody else's
So the
trailer.
property owner now,
Has family in somebody else's trailer.
Where's the person that owns the trailer?
Pulteney. Yeah,
And they're the ones that are tax sale.
I'm tax
Selling
sailing the
their
people out of
trailer.
Pulteney, yeah.
So it'll go to tax sale for $3,000+ and someone can bid on it, including the current occupants.
Yes.
Is there any interest in the board on bidding on this or let it go to tax sale?
This is Glenn. I don't know what we'd want to use trailer for.
Say, let it go to tax sale.
Okay. If it's sitting on the landowner's property, doesn't that tax now, don't they get taxed now?
The landowner pays the tax, trailers are funny. The landowner pays his tax on his land, and the town also taxes the trailer for separate property tax.
So the land is current.
The land is current, the trailer is not.
So the only thing we gain by buying that trailer at tax sale
It's a mess.
is the ability to sell it or demolish it at our cost, right? In a
Yes,
year.
after a year, yes.
So the landowner just gets
So
their,
if nobody bids on the trailer, what happens?
yes, good question.
If nobody bids on the trailer, we have to decide if we want to sell it again or just let it ride as it is. Sell it again as in, then maybe the town takes it to recoup.
That's reasonable offer.
Yeah, if nobody bids, it becomes kind of a mess.
And you'll start the bid off at 3,000, whatever, 200,
I will say that is what is, yeah,
the
okay.
minimum bid.
There's, without the,
And if there's no bidders, then what happens?
It's Yeah, nothing. We have to decide if we want to try it, sell it again, or if the town wants to bid on it at the next sale.
And John, this is a John, is this a habitable trailer?
Just about,
That's a yes or no?
like I said,
There's some-
just
It's a
about.
yes or no?
It can be made better, let's put it that way.
Well, yeah,
It's a yes.
it's a yes.
He's waffling, but it's a yes.
Oh, just a question,
I
Joe.
think I get.
So is this one that, there's people living in it now, is my understanding, that if they bid the $3,429.77, they could own the trailer they're living in?
Yes. And those,
Or $1.
for those people, those folks did come and talk about that option.
Yeah,
Are there water and sewer fees on this?
Let me look.
What? Oh,
No. No water or sewer.
because the tenant's paying, the person that's in there is paying.
Dang,
But either way, if, let's say it did sell for, say, a nickel, right now we're getting 0.
Right.
Next year, it's back on the property roll, the tax rolls.
Kind
Well, it's
of. Will it be tied in with that property at that point?
trailer's trailer.
Tax everyone.
So do you need a motion or just consensus? What do you need?
If you want to bid on it, I would need a motion. If you don't want to do anything, no action.
then, from me.
Glenn, are you all set? No action
no, I'm good with no action,
till the next time?
that's good.
All right. Okay.
I don't know how to get around it.
I don't think you do. Planning commission volunteer?
Yes. So we had a resident watch some of our Board of Selectmen meetings, and they loved it so much. They said they wanted to take part in local government, and she came to my office and raised her hand and said, "I would love to be on the planning commission." That's Miss Linda Sinkowitz. She's here today. And I did get a letter from Deborah Fallon, who is on the commission. She sent an email saying that she thinks Linda would be a good fit. And that letter is in front of you.
And currently it's a 5-member committee. There's 5 members.
Yep. Currently there are 5. It was up to 7. We did just, was it this board that moved it down to 5? Or
Yeah, I think a year ago,
just about a year ago?
because we didn't have enough to,
Yeah,
Well, to meet quorum.
yeah.
yeah.
So what would quorum be? I mean, your sheet says gotta increase it to 6.
Yes.
I always thought that it had to be an odd number, but
I thought
I
it
may
did
be
too.
wrong.
I did too. It's not the
No?
case.
So what would quorum be with 6?
4.
Joe, this is Glenn, has the board, the planning commission themselves talked about this and weighed in as to, they obviously asked us to drop it down because they weren't getting a forum. Have they weighed in and said now things have changed, they need more help and are willing to take forward and having the forum on?
So no, this hasn't gone to the commission yet. Deb Fallon did send a letter, Glenn, which it's sitting here in front of your chair, saying that,
It's very helpful.
yeah, saying that she believes that the commission could use the extra help as they move into doing the town plan. But no, the commission as a whole has not.
So I mean, my initial thought on this one is, I'd like that these boards do a lot of important work. I'd like the board to come back and say, yes, we've discussed it, we need the help, and we want to, as a board, we want to go this way, would be my comfort level.
I think that makes sense.
So I think the consensus is to defer to the planning commission on the size of their committee.
We always have.
If they feel that they need a larger commission, then they should recommend that.
Because the board, or the committee asked us to reduce it.
Right.
So I would ask the planning commission to either give us a recommendation or leave it as is.
I'll ask Phil to bring that up at their next meeting.
We also want volunteers, but we gotta do what the
That's fine.
commission wants. I don't wanna
That's fine.
kinda give them a committee that doesn't work with 6 people versus 5 or.
And it does seem that it should be an odd number.
I thought so too.
Because what if they get into a position where it's 3 to 3?
But is the, you know, the planning commission, is there gonna be a lot of things to vote on?
A fair number.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Could I just make a comment that I did write a letter in support? So I can say that, you know, I am the newest member of the planning commission, and, they voted me the clerk, mainly because we have a lot of work to do with, updating and revising the zoning bylaws and working on the new town plan. Like, those are things that are on our agenda for next year. We have a bit of a problem that if any not able to be there, it leaves us really shorthanded. And there, like, I joined just a couple of months ago, but we've had you know, we're making decisions about projects that some people have strong opinions about, like say the new Dunkin' Donuts or the second lane in the McDonald's drive-through, or you know the Stewart's expansion, like those. I know that since the other members have said, "Oh, it's so good to have more hands on deck. Like we need all the help we can get," and having more. I know sometimes you could say, well, when you have more people in the room, it, you know, you have more possibility of clashing, but we have a really good, working relationship, everybody there, and, Cindy Pritchard and Bob Richards also both know Linda really well, and, we all get along, and, I don't know if Linda knows Dave Amy or Patrick Frazier, but, I just, I'm really in support of someone else to help because we have been shorthanded and it does feel like it's a lot to deal with sometimes. And so anyway, I like maybe it would be a good idea to came to our next planning commission meeting, which is next week. But I feel really confident that everyone will be happy to have another volunteer who has an administrative background. Yeah. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
Are there any other interested people out there to get it back to 7?
Nobody has raised their hand, no. We could post it though to see if.
That would kind of be ideal, right? Numbers wise.
I could post it again and see if we can't drum up some support. Yeah.
Is it a statute?
Just a question for the planning, but do we, sometimes it's not always adding another person. If we have a problem with having a quorum and people showing up, maybe we need to replace someone who's there, who's not showing that there's a minimum amount of attendance required.
Right.
I'm not saying that's the problem, I'm just saying, I guess it looks like there's some disjoint between asking to have it dropped and now coming back, and I just want to understand it a little better.
I think the request to drop it was just simply because there weren't enough. Like if one member wasn't there, what is it? If 2 members weren't there, you wouldn't have a quorum necessarily.
No, 3.
So that like that's I think that was the reason. Like
Isn't it going to be the same problem?
Well, is it a statutory requirement what the,
Yeah.
if there's 6 members, then there must be 4, or do we have the option of saying that the quorum can stay at 3?
No,
It's gotta be
it's gotta be
vote.
quorum.
We gotta be able to make a decision. It can't be a 3-3. It's got.
But we're talking about quorum, we're not talking about, and
Yeah, but
you
you-
can still be landlocked, you can still be locked.
True, but it's gotta be,
the majority of the board.
Majority of the board that's there, that's not there. Could
Well,
you-
the majority, a certain number of board members have to be there to resume business.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a matter of, voting as much as it is, you can't do business with just one or two people.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We need 3.
We need 3.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure if it was a statutory requirement.
Yes.
I understand where you're coming from. I agree with Glenn, though. I'd like to
Get a recommendation from
get a
them.
recommendation.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Only because they recommended we drop it down.
All right, so the select board would like a
I
recommendation from
Appreciate
the,
you coming in, though.
yeah, from the planning commission, and the question I would have too is the 6 versus 7 versus 5. Does that make a difference procedurally? I'm not sure of the answer on that.
I'd be more comfortable with 7.
Yep.
But that's going to make the quorum
But
difficult, too.
Right,
so.
gets it up to 5, and they had a problem doing business with 5. But I mean, if one person consistently doesn't come, you're gonna have 6 people there. You can still be locked.
No, I would agree with that, yeah.
So we've tended to do very well with eventually reaching a consensus, and maybe there'll be, on one issue, maybe one person isn't with the rest of the group, and then on another issue, there might be a different one person who doesn't agree. But generally, we've been pretty good at talking things through and coming to decisions. But yes, I'd be concerned about the fact that you have something that could be seen as controversial. That having more members at least gives a little more weight to our decisions. And so let's say a permanent, and then there are only 3 people there. Those 3 people are a quorum, but I could see townspeople being upset if something is allowed because 3 people said it was okay, when, it might be better or this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think
We're
anyone
saying the same
disagrees. Yeah,
thing.
we're not disagreeing with you, but because that commission specifically asked this board to reduce their numbers,
Yeah.
it really should be the commission that asks us to increase the numbers again.
All right, so Joe's gonna speak with Phil on that. Okay. All right, thanks everybody for that conversation. And depending on the commission's recommendation, I mean, we've got your letter, and if they raise it, we'll.
Yeah, they have, I think I'll be okay.
All right.
I get along with most
All right.
people, especially
Sounds
on
good.
planning.
I don't know if we need to.
Tax stabilization application. Joe's just gonna introduce the application as they were due by the end of the year. And then we can review and potentially take action at our next meeting, which would be after the new year, but it was at least introduced during the current year.
Yep.
If that makes sense. Glenn, are you okay with that, or?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense to me. It's great to see the new tax stabilization, we're gonna get an opportunity to see how it works.
Okay.
Yeah, and this did come in at 1 o'clock, so I didn't have a lot of time to prep it. But we got a little bit anyway. So the applicant
What are
is,
you working, are you a paper you're working off of?
no, I'm not. No, you don't have any of this, in fact.
Just listen.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw it at you. There will be a
Make it up
test.
as he goes along.
So the applicant is MT Associates. This is one of the companies that is putting the new Dunkin' Donuts in on Washington Street. They did provide the complete application package, letter of interest, project description, cost, permits, et cetera for that. They're requesting the 50% tax stabilization. They say that they're gonna do site improvements between $800,000 and $900,000 on that location. Currently, the land value is at $30,000 where it sits now. Land value is 30,000. Site improvements, says dwelling is 144, with site improvements of 13. So this will dramatically increase the value of that site, once the building is up.
Increase to 144,000.
It'll go from like 200 to a
Say
million.
800 or a million.
Yeah, something like that. So,
Where is this going? I know on Washington.
Right across the
Street.
bank on the other opposite corner of Heritage.
Between Heritage and Walgreens.
yeah, right next to Walgreens.
Right next to Walgreens.
Little white house. The white
And that house is disappearing?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah,
Where they
anything there.
retrofit. That's the drive-through.
Yep.
And
Yeah, I
there's
don't think
the White House, and there's also a barn too
Yeah,
behind
all
it,
that, I
right?
think
Yeah,
that-
all
I
that.
think it all goes. I'm
I
not.
don't know.
wall says raise all structures.
It does say that on there.
Oh, okay. There we go.
So I can make a better packet than just me talking at you for the next meeting, but I wanted to introduce it since that's
I
what the
think
policy
that's a
kind of.
Good course of
Yeah.
events
No,
to
I'd agree.
table and to. I
All
don't
right,
know
so
if
we'll table the application to the next board meeting.
Do we need to acknowledge receipt or anything like that?
I will contact the property owner, let him know that it's been,
On the record now.
Tabled,
anyway,
yeah.
so-
Per the policy. I didn't know it
Yeah.
specifically.
Budget review. Let's start with the accounting department.
Ready.
Jenny is here to talk accounting if you have any questions.
Won't lose it this time.
If possible.
All right, no problem.
Thank you.
So salaries went down, well, they went up like 0.5%. But that's because Eileen was hired to replace Deb, who was here more years and made more money. So that's why there's no significant increase in that. And this particular line item is only 65% of the accountant salary and 40% of the office assistant. The rest is taken care of by water and sewer splits.
I'm sorry, Jenny, what line are you on? Is it 3410?
Yep.
It's just and the dues and meetings, we haven't used. There we go. That would pay mileage. I left it the same because it would probably be nice if Eileen did do some training, but like NEMRIC is all webinars now, so that wouldn't involve any, travel. But we still left $50 in for travel anyway.
Should we slide the $50 from travel up into dues and meetings so that it was more effective?
I wouldn't think, no.
No? Okay. If you're not going anywhere and you're doing a webinar.
There might be something,
That's
to
okay.
go to. I just, like I said, I don't like webinars myself, but I hadn't been attending trainings either.
Shutting it hard.
Maybe COVID will be over. You can do some traveling.
Yep.
Maybe. Maybe. Questions for Jenny with the accounting department? No? Okay.
So for that line item, the office salaries, Jenny did have that as a 0.5% increase. I thought that was my mistake and bumped it back up to 2.25. So I'm gonna move that number, the salaries number, back down to 58,581 to reflect Jenny's calculation.
He thought I made a mistake.
I
So
can't,
that number does
Because
include the
it'll be less with the
2%,
new person.
but with a lower salary.
lower
person.
salary for the other
We
person, yeah.
used the 2.25%, what everybody did.
Yeah.
So it could be higher.
On the-
depending what
on
happens
the
with
total.
contract. Oh, I didn't know you passed it out to them, Joe.
I did, well, yeah,
Because you asked me about that and I explained it, so I didn't realize you did.
Yeah, the horse was already out of the barn by the time
Oh,
So it's 58 what?
581.
that's good, it only reduces the bottom line.
That's what I figured. It's better to take it out than put it in.
That's right.
Joe's not getting that as a savings. All right, any other questions on accounting department?
Nope.
Okay.
I did put Jenny's stuff up front. The benefits were page
Yep.
9 if she wanted to.
Yeah, benefits, page 9.
So that starts with retirement, and I left that pretty much the same. We've been okay with that.
Wait, the retirement, is that what you just said? I
Yes,
had trouble hearing, is that, those are pension payments or?
yes, for 010 and 030. They always go up a little bit in July, but it was not much.
Yeah, just for clarification, the retirement benefits line.
Yep.
Is that a combination for all the people that have retired from here and that's what's the total of what's paid out?
What's that?
No,
No, that's the
it's the town match
municipal
Or-
retirement match.
on the payroll.
But for everybody.
Yes.
For every 010 and 030.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
okay.
There's
Not-
separate numbers for 020 and
Right.
025.
Okay. You
Oh,
get that
okay,
now?
yeah, it's different.
Okay,
That's what I
but
call it.
so every payday, of course, we deduct their portion. And quarterly, the town matches all that.
Okay,
And there's two different groups, so it's a different rate for the B group and the C group and, yeah. But it gets deducted from their pay every 2 weeks.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What's the thoughts on the unemployment insurance?
So Social Security was the same.
You dropped it $4,300 from the actual.
Those are real numbers. Those are hard numbers from our insurance company. The cost just came down.
Okay, beautiful
And
thing.
what about, not looking to spend more, but health
Well,
insurance?
the
didn't go up?
unemployment, you're asking about the unemployment line
Yeah.
item?
Yeah.
Last year, that included employment practices and unemployment. This year, that's just, because now we're back with the league, that is just the unemployment insurance.
So you just move some things around a little bit.
Right, and that's why some of the categories like,
There you go.
I think
Still.
public officials is all combined into one now.
Still solid numbers.
Yes.
Yes, we actually got that, what was it, just last week or 2 weeks ago? The bill for January from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. That's why, I couldn't do anything until I got that, or the health insurance,
Yeah.
because I had to wait for those numbers.
And you got new health insurance numbers that did not go up?
No, it actually went down.
That's amazing.
It actually went down.
Mhm.
I only, went down a little bit because we don't know the next 6 months. Because it goes January to December, so we know exactly, and I have the whole figures exactly for
okay.
the 6 months, January to June, but not, I'm sorry, July to December
But not January.
next year. But then in January, they'll go up again. So we always estimate the best I
Okay.
can. But even with that, the 110 should be enough.
Now, is that,
We've had, people, come on. Like Beth
Bump it
didn't
up.
have insurance, Eileen does, a 2-person.
Mhm.
We had a gentleman go to a family plan who had a single plan and changed the plan.
Yeah.
So you always get different, scenarios going on, but.
is that
even
just
with all
premiums?
that-
Is that just premiums, Jen, or is that also the,
That's the
reserve?
premiums,
Okay.
Next
The
page.
HRA is, I think, the very last item.
Yeah, so what's the full exposure on the HRAs? If you were to fully fund that?
Jenny had, I think, it at 55?
It's on your sheet, you have your sheet.
Yeah.
I have it if you don't.
Do you have it right in front of you?
Yep.
Okay, what you got?
76,446.
76,446.
And I knocked it down to 55, but I think Joe knocked it down over. Didn't you?
Joe's got it at 40,
Which is in line with.
which is in line with the
3 years.
actuals. How much different is that 76 than last year's? Do you know what fully?
Well, the 76,446 is all the plans at either
Yeah, fully
35 or 7,000,
fully expended.
plus Joe's buyout, plus 2 retirements at 5,000 a year, plus $1,000 bill buyout that he gets now because he's not on our insurance.
No, I mean, what was it last year? You have any?
Last year.
What was maximum?
Last year, what the total liability was?
Yeah,
67,135.
so it's up 9,000.
But you only had Joe's buyout, 2635, and 5,000 for Jack's retirement. So you got a few more retirements and, you know, different buyout, so.
Right. I'm just wondering if we have to.
Not be so
I
aggressive.
mean,
It's not.
I don't
it's
think
not out of
we've
line,
ever
though.
gone over, right? I mean,
It's in 30s,
Yeah.
high 30s.
Okay, I'm good. Those were just the
and we're
questions.
at
I
December
had.
now, who's got the budget? What's it at now? Well, don't even trust that because
Right.
I have 5 months. I just finished balancing the checkbook since I've been gone. Now,
Yep.
Well, whenever you guys got the reserve account.
Yep.
I haven't done the HRA account yet, so that number is absolutely not real on your budget sheets. So don't go by that.
The 37 is not an actual. That was
I haven't done-
2021.
There's 5 months I have to balance that HRA account.
No, but that was
And that means
last.
pulling all the reports and then deducting the amounts that I normally do every year from the fund is what's been paid.
That one's done.
Yeah, they're both
Fairly
done.
close.
So you can't just look at that and say that's what we have spent through December this year.
No, right.
That is definitely not real.
All right, other questions for benefits section?
No, I think I'm okay.
Len, did you have any on your end?
Nope, looks good.
Okay. All right, thanks, Jen.
Okay.
Emergency management.
Thank you.
Jim, I believe that's you, right? Page 4.
No,
It's pretty straightforward. The first line is fuel for the generator at the grading school. The second line is the maintenance contract and the certification.
How come there's no actual for the fuel?
Probably didn't buy fuel that year. Bought fuel in the next fiscal year. I know we just filled it up before the potential hurricane that we made sure it was filled before that, so we did just fill it up here back in August. But it only, unless power goes down, it only runs for a couple of minutes every Monday morning and it does the self-test. And the grade school staff monitor the fuel level for me and I give them a call and see where we're at. If we're going into something of a potential issue, we'll make sure it's not done.
What's the fuel tank? How big?
Oh, we oversized it. I think it's 400.
Okay. Other questions on that section? Fire department, page 5. Oh, 4510. Jim, is that where you want to start?
Okay, 4510 is fire pay. Say I generally start out with, we run basically, give or take, 100 runs a year. Last year we were at 80 something, we're up to 104 this year. It's kind of hard to estimate man hours because manpower is variable. But I started out figuring it at, say, an average of 8 people for an hour, and throw in a fudge there for some overtime for fires that run more than an hour. I get extra, because they get minimum wage for a minimum of an hour on a run, and then actual hours put in over an hour. And then Joe's kind of backed it back to historical levels, kind of like the same as the HRA. We do have a bump in minimum wage 1st of January, so there's going to be a little bit of a draw there. But as long as we're not exceeding the numbers, we're comfortable with it where it is.
Do all towns pay minimum wage for firefighters?
No, towns, there are many different schemes. Some fire departments are municipal, some fire departments are contract, they're independent. Some fire departments run on a point system, where they get certain number of, they get points for fire calls, trainings, meetings, whatever, and then they have a stipend that they divvy up per point. We linked it to minimum wage as kind of a recruitment and retention thing. I mean, nobody's getting rich doing this, obviously, but it does pay for some gas, maybe a night out to make up for a night that you missed. That's, as I say, there's a lot of different scenarios, but I understand that under Vermont's workman's comp, in order to be able to cover it, you have to have a wage. And we are a paid on-call department, members are town employees. It's not always the case, but what's the alternative? Then the insurance line, we carry an accident, sickness, and disability policy. Travel is basically mileage for fire officers using their private vehicles to respond to calls at distance. Not drawn on a lot, but when you do a 25-mile run to Benson, or you're sitting up at top of Scotch Hill or something like that, we'll put in for mileage for something like that. And then the medical line covers fit tests. Initially was instituted to cover hepatitis B vaccinations. Most of your newer members coming on now have that as a school shot, but that money is there for that sort of thing. And that covers 4510.
So you're comfortable with the 10, the proposed 10,000 in the salary?
As I said, the actuals have, varied on either side of that number, and it's
8 to
one
12.
that's kind of hard to predict because I don't know what my run totals are, I don't know what my manpower total is, so we had to base it on something.
It's your swag.
And then, well, it's a wage, It's just
But it's your scientific wild guess.
Yeah, well, I based it on, as I say, the initial number on 8 people at $12 an hour at 100 runs, and then Joe says, let's throttle that back a little bit because historically we haven't got to that level. And I said, if you're comfortable with it, I am, because, the bottom line is, somebody puts in their time, they're gonna get their stipend for it. So it's kind of a budgetary thing. I don't wanna put money in that I know I don't need, but it's a placeholder as much as anything.
Okay, other questions? No? Okay, training?
Okay, training. Sheets here. Okay, 21 basically, funding supplies for, training evolutions. I've got, $150 in there for a 5-gallon bucket of foam, so we can flow some foam for training. And the other thing we have is we got money in there for lumber, plywood, etc., for constructing training props, which is something that we've been getting into. We've done some joint ventures with Castle and Napoleon. We went in cahoots on a forcible entry door because Chief Kerber has a great big huge hall. He has lots of room to store it, so it's kept down there. We also went in on a power hose roller to roll 5-inch hose. You've got 1,000 feet in the street, it's a lot easier to roll up the machine. Again, it's something we've gone in cahoots with. But
That's about one sheet of plywood now.
yeah. Well, we scrounge.
Don't buy a glue board.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the next line item is educational supplies, which is public fire education. We keep a stockpile of coloring books, helmets, etc.
Good.
We go in cahoots with the graded school for fire prevention activities, and we also make it a point at Halloween. We hand out candy, we hand out fire safety information. Events in the park, we hand out fire safety information, and that keeps our stockpile. We go to do visits to preschools, we've done that, and that keeps our, generally, once a year, a training officer will send in an order and replenish what he needs for stockpile. And 40 is kind of a catch-all under dues and meetings. It basically covers regional fire schools, any seminars that come up that, again, we've kind of throttled back the last couple of years due to COVID. There hasn't been the travel, and you know what stuff has been done online. But generally in the spring, we do Rutland and Bennington County do a regional fire school. Addison County does one. They're usually on opposing weekends, so we've sent people to classes at both of those schools. Rutland County and Washington County Firefighters Association dues come out of that line item. Our Vermont State Firefighters Association memberships come out of that. And we've also budgeted starting this year with memberships for the National Volunteer Fire Council, which opens us up to additional training and additional insurance opportunities, and also some advocation for the volunteer fire service.
What are you planning under repair and maintenance that has a jump like that?
Where are we at?
That's on the first line under fire department communications, repair and maintenance.
Oh, and we're in communications? I haven't gotten that far yet.
Oh, I got ahead of you. Sorry.
Okay, I'm still working on training. That's the next line.
Okay. It's the first line, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's the first line under 4540. I was under 4540.
Any questions on dues and meetings for
Yeah,
fire department
No.
training? All right, moving on, Jim, to
Okay.
communications.
Okay, repair and maintenance supplies. That actually reflects actual costs. That's one set of batteries for my portable radios. I try to keep, my plan is to have 2 sets of batteries. One, I buy a set a year because they do have a finite life, and that way we have bank chargers, so we can keep the second set of batteries charged, and then it's just swapping them out.
Yeah.
So those are $85 a piece, so that's $935 for my 11 portables, and then 10 pager batteries, which are $25 a piece.
Okay.
Next line is kind of communications. This funds all of our phone charges, and which is our dispatch line, our firehouse line, and our cell phone line, our data line. Next line is our dispatching services with Washington County. Bad news here is they've, if you wanna call it that, is we just signed a 5-year extension with Washington County of our previous agreement, and their increase has gone from $100 a year to $300. It's, you know, there's no, absolutely no question that that's where we want to be dispatched from. As I'm sure you've heard Chief Humphreys tell about what's going on the Vermont side of the border. So that's, that covers that.
Jim, should we have an increase of 300 instead of just 100 in this line?
It would be an increase actually of, because theirs is a calendar year. So this budget would be, yeah, it would be 150 and 150. So it would work out as, because it'll actually run from this year, it would be, yeah, so it's going to work out even either way. So yeah, it'd be a $300 bump.
So it's an increase over the 4,200, which is the actual?
Yeah, I can get you because I think a lot of these were estimated budget numbers. I could pull the actual off of the agreement, and we can
You're gonna be
modify
okay with
that.
46 either way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you said 300, it's gonna be 45.
It'd be 40.
Yeah, because
The increase is over 42.
100, so it would be 48 instead of 46.
Oh,
Because I've already budgeted
think
for
so.
$100 of that.
It'd be 4,800.
Except the actual,
Yeah, but you're looking at an actual from a year
yeah,
ago.
yeah. Wouldn't that make it 43?
Yeah.
If it goes
So
up
it went up to
100 a
100,
year,
yeah, then just 46. 46 probably right then, Jim. Because it was up 100 last year,
Yeah.
so you're 42.
Well, I got-
400 total.
They
43.
got the breakdown, because they're done in 2 installments, so you get half of
I
the
bet you're
increase the
46.
next time around.
but check it out. And
Yeah,
So
For
we-
45,
we put the actual estimate in there.
yeah, we can, now that we have solid figures, we can put solid figures in there. Because that was we just got that last week.
Okay.
Okay, and repair and maintenance, $1,000 will buy you about 10 hours of tech time for any repairs we have to do. It's $100 an hour for tech time. And the 76 represents the electrical charges for the fire siren, which is back in service. Works about $30 a month or so is what it averages. In the comm line for machinery and equipment, that's covering 2 high-band portable radios, 1 high-band mobile, and 3 pagers, which is pretty much a ballpark of keeping our inventory up to snuff.
Questions there on communication? Glenn, anything? I haven't heard from you in a little bit.
he's asleep.
No, it all looks pretty good. Looks like we've got budget's pretty tight.
Yep. All right, moving on to
Okay, moving on to
equipment.
Line item .1, that's town wages, which covers my wage for administrative work and the mechanic's wage for any repairs and equipment maintenance done in-house. Next line is fuel. Next line is repair and maintenance supplies, primarily covers little things that we buy at Abishans, that sort of thing. A lot of miscellaneous expenses covered there. Small tools and equipment cover some whether it's quasi-disposable type items that we need replacement on a regular basis, based on 6 pair of gloves, 6 hoods, and also 2 replacement batteries for each of our thermal imagers, which I replace every year. Next line is covers maintenance and recharging of our fire extinguishers. This sometimes gets hard to break out because a lot of times the actual cost gets rolled in with municipal building, I think. But as long as there's money in both budgets to cover it, because they do annual maintenance and service on all the extinguishers in the building and all the town buildings for that matter. Okay, next line is air packs maintenance. And the increase on this is something that hopefully we won't have to deal with. We have 2 of our cylinders will reach their expiration, their 15-year lives, and will reach their 15 years during this budget year. So there's $1,800 budgeted to replace those. The rest is the annual certification of the Cascade System, services certification, annual flow tests on 13 packs, a couple of phase pieces and voice meters and miscellaneous repair parts. We are currently in the process of applying for a grant that we applied for in the spring and got turned down on for replacing our air packs, which are about 4 generations old and with up-to-date NFPA compliant breathing apparatus. Replacing all the cylinders, we'd be going from 2216 PSI bottles to 4500 PSI bottles. Bottles are smaller. That would require us to also upgrade our compressor and our bank tanks to go from 4500 tanks, which we currently have, to 6 to thousands to supply the 4500 tanks. Which would bring us not only into compliance, but also would bring us into compatibility with our mutual aid partners who've pretty much all upgraded. So we had a turn down on the last round. I talked to the Fed rep and said, can you pull the application and take a look at it? He pulled the application. He said, the good news is you did everything right. The primary reason you weren't funded was due to competition. We ran out of money before we got to you. But we're applying the next round. The applications were due a couple weeks ago, and the day before I submitted it, I got an email that there were some problems with the website, and they've extended the application period to the 20th of January. So we can rework our narratives a little bit, and try to match their scoring criteria and see what that comes in. It's going to be about $140,000 project, and the town's responsibility would be in the area is $6,000. So if that comes in, all this old stuff would become moot, but we can't count on it. Okay, next line item is repair and maintenance of apparatus. And we do annual servicing with Bulldog Fire Apparatus, which costs us $4,500. They do both engines. They do engine powertrain and pumps, change fluids, go through everything, replace what needs to be replaced. Do a good job. They're an offshoot of the outfit we bought the truck from. When KME went corporate, they closed their local shops, and Bulldog bought the shop in Latham. It's the same guys. The guys are really crackerjack. And so they come up and do our annual service for us. And then threw in $2,500 for miscellaneous repairs over and above their annual service. 3 inspections, 3 apparatus at $85 a piece. Takes care of 72. Okay, equipment purchases, basis on 6 helmets, 6 helmet fronts, 6 pair of boots, 20 gallons of foam, 300-foot lengths of 5-inch supply hose, 6 traffic vests, and a $1,500 miscellaneous TBD equipment purchase. This does not include, and this is the big caveat, is this does not include turnout gear. Turnout gear, I understand, is being funded via the reserve fund. I don't have any money in it this year. Problem is, I need gear this year because I've got 2 interior people that just became interior people and they need interior gear. And I have 2 people who are currently in firefighter 1 that we're gonna need compliant gear to do their burn building this spring. So we're gonna have to make that purchase now, at least we're gonna do 4 sets of gear. We were putting 3, we're gonna do 3 sets a year out of reserve, putting an extra 9,000 in the reserve over and above whatever we put in for towards apparatus purchase. So that's not included in the operations budget. It doesn't reflect that because that was gonna come out of, going as a capital
Reserve
purchase.
accounts.
And the last line item is $750 for miscellaneous equipment for fire police. Vests, radios, hand lights, helmets, coats, whatever they happen to need.
Okay, questions on fire department equipment?
You said you don't have any money in the reserves for the turnout gear.
I don't think they funded, the reserve account wasn't funded this fiscal year, so we've got money in the reserve, but it's gonna be drawn down,
Drawn down. Okay, all right.
as long as everybody's aware of that.
I don't have the number in front of me, but there is money.
Yeah.
Significant money.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
Depending on what year.
it's significant money until you talk apparatus
About a
replacement.
truck, yep.
And that's something that we do have to start really thinking about, because I've got a 1996 bunker tanker, which NFPA will tell you your first out piece should be 10 years old or newer. Your reserve piece can be 20 years. We're looking at going on 26. And before we start putting money into a sinking ship, we need to look at replacement. So where that's gonna plug into the capital plan is something that needs to be considered time-wise. And also how, well, I mean, the last piece we got, we ended up with, the timing was good. It was stimulus money available. We got a favorable USDA funding package on it. So, you know, I don't know how things are gonna go going forward financially, but it's something we need to look at doing in the, fairly near future.
All right, questions?
The other problem I've got apparatus wise is my brush truck, which is, the problem is, we're running out of people that can drive the standard.
That's the truth.
Yeah. So that's something that is gonna have to be dealt with too.
Questions for Jim? No, good.
You do a good presentation, Jim.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim.
Get on your budget patch.
And then fire warden, who is the fire warden?
Fire warden is actually my captain, Mike Praventure.
Okay.
And we leverage the money in the budget there. State, actually, they just opened it up. I got a letter a couple weeks ago. They do a 50-50 match on equipment. And what we usually do is figure out what's the most pressing need in the wildland fire end of things.
Yeah.
And we'll take that money and we'll leverage that with some of our own equipment money to make up the difference, and then buy twice as much as we could. So that's what we do with that.
All right. So answer that question.
Perfect.
Thank you, Jim.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Good night.
Allocation of fund balance.
Jim?
Do you want to go through that, Joe?
Yes. Dig my paperwork out. So the board needs to decide how it wants to allocate the fund balance from 010 and 030. I did provide a copy of last year's warning, which showed where we designated some money last year. Fire vehicles, police vehicles, both got money. Town garage got a little bit, grant match got some, and so did public works vehicles.
Yep.
So there is currently in the fund balance $265,809 for the general fund, and I guess, you wanna start there?
Yeah. You see that, Rob? That's in there.
Yeah, I got it.
You got that, okay. All right. Glenn, do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm wondering that there's another discussion that we have, to have around when we see what the increase looks like with everything rolled together. Is the allocation of fund balance are we premature in having that discussion tonight? Is my question.
I don't think so.
Because, I mean, I looked at some of the things that if you look back and say you're gonna have to take some things out to reach where we wanna be, if where we take some things out, there might be some allocation of fund balance, or am I not?
I think,
Glenn's question is, do you buy down the tax rate with some of the fund balance?
that's where I thought we were going. So buying down,
Go ahead.
I'm saying, so I know boards
Correct.
like to buy down the tax rate.
No, well,
I don't
we
like doing that.
Thank you. But doing that artificially deflates your budget, and then in next year, 2 years, then we see a huge spike in tax rates that just destroy us.
Understood, I'm just, like, we had earlier discussions around, grant match, and the need to increase the grant match,
Yes.
so that we could take some opportunities that are coming up. And isn't that where fund balance there might be some opportunity to ask voters
Yes.
if they want to use some of that?
Yes, I think so.
instead of, because we had the discussion
Yeah.
last week meeting. As a matter of fact, there's one project hanging in the balance of grant match and stuff.
Yeah.
And we talked about, bumping that up and how much, and we said we were gonna table that discussion until we knew what the, fund balance was gonna look like.
I guess the first question is, what's the number of people are comfortable with in the fund balance?
Yeah, how much do you want to leave there?
Right. I think our Ron Smith,
Yeah,
our
Ron
auditor, said 2, right?
200?
Was it 100? Didn't he say 180 or
Oh, doesn't he, he puts it at months, doesn't he?
in months?
Yeah. Doesn't he tell us we have to have,
In reserve, I think you're right, but I've always felt comfortable with leaving 100.
Okay.
But I didn't look at his sheets close enough. Does he have all those earmarked things out of there, Joe? So that you know what your real fund balance is?
oh,
You know what I'm saying? All those things they voted on, did he subtract that out of that bottom line?
The committed, yes.
I guess
And they add up to what the voters voted already?
The 260, yes.
Okay.
I mean, I guess the easiest way to say is we were at 140 from this fiscal year between the two, right? When you put the
two fund balances together.
120, 140.
72 and 48.
Hey, Jeff,
Extra,
refresh
yeah.
my memory, but I thought last year at this time when we talked about fund balance, I thought my memory was somewhere around 100,000 if we wanted.
Okay.
That's what, yeah, I think that's what you guys.
I think we like the 100. I think Ron throws out 2, and I'm just.
Yeah.
He liked higher, but I've always said, but we have that emergency fund.
Right.
Yeah.
So that to me is our emergency, but
So is
Yeah.
me personally, 100,000, I feel comfortable.
so is everybody
160.
comfortable with the 100 and
This is where the whole policy on fund balance
Yeah.
and,
Right.
the emergency reserve, all the reserves.
right? would really help.
Because we can refer back to that and say, okay,
And Joe is working on it as we speak.
I was gonna bring it up at, yeah, I'm working on 3 policies right now, yes.
So.
that wasn't a shot across your bow. We've been asking for it for a much longer time.
So if we start at that 150,
So I mean, Joe, this is your proposed articles.
No, this is what was last year, he said.
Which one are you looking at, the warning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is a
those-
copy of last year?
Yeah, that's a copy of last year. If you flip to,
Those are all approved.
yeah, if you flip to page 2 and start down where it says Article 4,
where are you?
that,
It did not. That's the only thing that failed.
Page 2 at the bottom where it starts off with the,
I think.
money for the fire vehicles and equipment. But my question is,
Right?
once you take what we have for fund balance this year, know that we want to stay around $100,000. What's the amount of money that we have that we're talking that we can put into any of these articles? That's my question.
you broke up a little bit, Glenn. I didn't hear what the question was.
My question is that if we want to keep about 100,000 there in it, we had a fund balance carryover this year. When we add that to what was already sitting there, knowing we want to keep 100,000 there, how much are we actually looking to divvy up in articles?
Well, but wait a minute, if you were agreed on $100,000 last year, which I wasn't on the board, but we had significantly more than 100,000 in there prior to this carry forward.
Right.
So we didn't all agree on
I
100,000.
don't think we did. Yeah.
I think we got to take the 100,000 off the table as a discussion item.
I think we didn't agree on what the articles were that we wanted to put in. I would imagine there were some that didn't make the final cut. So when I'm looking at these right here on page 2 and 3, articles 4 through, it looks like 9, or not 9, up to 8, are we sure we even want these same ones this year?
Oh, no,
I don't.
I don't think that was the
I
suggestion.
don't myself either. That's why
I
so
think
all I'm really looking to do is say, so if we need to have the discussion to say, if you don't think 100,000 is right, you think it's 200,000, fine, I'm all for having that discussion.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I just want to know, I think it's premature to say we're going to put it anywhere till we know how much we have, so we make decisions about where we may want to put it or not.
Yeah, so Glenn, right now, your fund balance, just for general fund, is $265,809.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Oh, I could see how if I didn't have that information, this would be an
little
interesting
higher,
conversation.
Yeah.
You should have
Because
that sheet.
then, once we have the discussion,
He
say
should.
how much you want to leave in
not
there,
sure he
if you
does.
want to leave 200 in there, that means 65,809 is what we're talking about.
Sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
That's
Yeah, and then when we get to that, I mean, some of these articles from last year, I think, are too finite. I mean, it's.
Well, I heard a number, just starting at item 1,
Yeah.
for the painting of the exterior. It was some huge number. You recently gave us an estimate.
Yep.
Was it over 50,000?
It was 50,000 last year.
But we got the
The estimate is 50,000 to do the work on the building.
oh, okay. So that theoretically should be pretty much fully funded. Or is this
Through the fund
is this
balance.
first page your proposals, or what you did last year?
So the first,
I'm a little confused.
Yeah, it doesn't say.
I'm sorry, this is confusing if you're not me. So the first page, the first page says additional articles,
Yes.
and they're numbered 1 through 15.
Yeah, okay.
That's the a la carte list.
Is that your proposal?
No.
This
Or
is
what we did last year?
no. This is what we're.
Neither.
this is what I'm asking the board, do you wanna place this on?
Okay.
But right now, we're talking fund balance.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought this was, that 1 through 15 was what we approved last year, so I was gonna say, we don't have to do number 1.
So we're kind of meshing I and J together, ballot questions and allocation of fund balance. To get back to Glenn's point, I mean, where are folks thinking?
On a number?
Is 100,000 enough to leave in, 150,000? Because I would agree, once you know that number, then you can maybe narrow in on some of these items.
150.
So, let me just throw something out.
Yeah.
Does highway have to stay in highway?
Yes.
Yeah. So personally, I feel fairly comfortable using the surplus. You guys can all kick me when I get done saying this, but there's 47 in there. So if that went towards highway equipment, just the 47 that
No, there's
in new money. There's more money there, but leave
Yeah.
the balance alone. Just use the
balance from this current year.
Just use this
Or
current
the-
year,
the last
47 to bolster highway equipment reserve.
Yeah.
And then you've got 72 in the net from this fiscal year. Round that
That's
to
new.
That's new.
Right.
Yeah.
Round that out to 100 or 150 out of the general fund, which would still leave the 100 would leave 230. The 150 would leave 170, right? Or 180. If my numbers are.
Yeah.
Well, if you said 100, isn't that 165?
Yeah.
Yes. It would be 165, yeah.
Ooh, that's loud, sorry.
Yeah, I guess
I'm
my
gonna keep
idea was
doing that.
just getting a baseline for numbers to talk about.
Round number, I'm comfortable with starting 100.
Using 100.
Using 100, yeah, so make it 165.
And then I'd lean towards either bolstering paving, additional paving in the
Yeah.
budget, or grant match, or a 50-50, something like that. But not to offset paving that's in the budget, to do additional, so that when we go to like Scotch Hill, we might actually be able to
I
continue.
am totally lost
I
here.
agree. And what were you at with DPW?
47.
Use 47,000.
So I'm just throwing that out to see where that sticks.
All right, Glenn, where's that? How do you feel with that proposal?
Was half to paving and half to, what was that?
I agree,
Grant match, in principle.
I agree with the grant match. The 100, and we're saying 100,000, I want to take 150,000 of that, not 100,000. But, okay.
Which would leave you with 115 in your instance.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
But I come back and then I come back and say, if grant match, if the reason I'm saying 150 instead of 100 would just go into grant match and there's nothing left for anything else.
Yeah.
I'm going, understand we can't, if we make decisions the same way we always have during this time when we have all kinds of opportunities and everything, through infrastructure funding and everything, I think we missed the boat. I thought I heard.
What's
that
your
there's some other
proposal?
Reserve emergency funding, so using 150 and leaving 105,000 for now doesn't put us at that huge risk. If it does, and we stay on the same pattern of about 70,000 of carry forward by July 1 of 2022, we just won't. We're back up to that 150, 165.
So in your proposal, Glenn, we're at 150 and using 100 in the grant match and 50 somewhere else.
And 50 somewhere else.
Where else?
I can.
Some of the.
I think we're being too finite. How much money are we looking to use? And then let's look at the list.
Yeah.
Where does it apply to the list?
Okay.
That's a good spot to start. How much do you have to spend?
The town hall on the top.
Yep.
And I say, I'm not looking to take 50,000 and do that. The 140,000 on page 1 of the additional articles, We don't have the money for that, so number 3 comes right off the list. Number 1 comes off the list for me. It's one where if we want that, I'd rather put it on the article to say, do the voters want to spend $50,000 to paint the exterior of the town hall and fix it? So let the voters know, if they don't do it, we put it in reserve carryover.
Oh, gotcha, yeah, okay.
I do think there's an opportunity, there's a lot of smaller dollar items that we can get done when I look at the number 4, 5, 6. I'm not so sure about 5, but I do think that the fence around the town green, that's probably a good use of $7,000 of carry forward money.
Can't disagree.
I'm just saying that the little ones, the ones under 10 grand add up, but if we can knock off 3 or 4 and take care of grand max, we've done pretty good.
Joe?
Initial thought.
Yep.
And this has become confusing mostly because of me. So I apologize. I tried something new this year. Glenn, so if you're looking at the additional articles 1 through 15, page 1 and 2, those are articles that I would propose that the board puts on the ballot for the voters to vote on. Right now, we're looking at the allocation of fund balance.
Gotcha.
And that would be Articles 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 is what we moved money to last year.
Now I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, sorry, I did something different.
Makes sense,
And
though.
if you want to put all 17 of those items for vote, that's a different discussion, but I'm not about that.
Yeah, sorry, Glenn.
100,000 and put it into grant match and that's Article 7, what I see sitting in the grant match reserve fund. Then you come back and say, if you're talking new, I come back again, I didn't go, and I apologize for not being able to go to the trip down to the town barn, but a new town garage, there's nowhere near the money to make that happen if we don't do something each year substantial in order to, even if we're fixing what we got.
I think they would agree with that based on what I heard down there today.
So if you're, I guess.
But isn't that one of the-
Criteria we put around here,
I thought-
for not equipment, but new town garage and grant match in places.
I guess that's why I'm pushing to fund grant match.
Right, because I thought we were looking at an opportunity for the stimulus money.
To
It's not,
turn,
it's not called stimulus money, but the Fed money
Yeah.
to build the garage with a grant
Build the
match
garage.
possibility.
turn $200,000 into $2 million is,
You heard that?
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, you're
I'm
good.
making it up, but
Oh, yeah. All right.
10% match.
That's the thing, because anything of substance is, even if you're doing 20%, I mean, what's 20% of $1 million? 200? Is that right? 200,000?
Yeah.
So,
You don't want to sell so short of possibilities, so.
yeah, so 150 gets you less than $1 million project.
Right.
Which is apparently not
Yeah, it's not a salt shed. Yeah.
Do people
So,
need to chew on this? Is that where we're at?
well, let me just make sure we're, so Jeff wanted to use 100, Glenn's at 150.
I'm okay with
But
150.
I think everybody, well, not everybody, I don't want to speak for everybody, but 150 sounds like more reasonable for grant match. What was the other 54?
I threw out paving, but you can put it.
Well, paving we would take out of DPW, right? Their fund balance.
You could.
So what's a comfortable number there? Glenn, they got 165 fund balance in DPW.
When you're looking at
100 in there
DPW, where's the 155 you're talking about?
It looks like after the audit, their fund balance stands at 165,000.
Okay.
47 from this current.
From new, yeah, new.
47 new from this current year,
Okay.
prior year.
So, and your question, Chris, I'm sorry for
No, Jeff recommended just using the fund balance that came from the prior year of 47, and then leave 115 in there.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Okay. Others?
Or round it to 100. I don't know. It was a place to start.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I actually,
Or do you do 50,000? 150 out of general
Or you
fund,
can
and
do
then
50, and that gets
50,000
you basically to 115.
out of DPW.
yeah.
And then, so I think there's consensus to use 50,000 of the fund balance out of DPW and 150 out of the general fund.
Now where are you gonna put it?
Now the question is, where would we allocate? And I think what I was hearing was at least 100 of general fund be used for grant match,
Mhm.
which leaves you with 50,000. Grant funds right here, so that would be 100. Okay.
Do you consider the state highway aid a grant? So like if the state comes through and it approves our Scotch Hill project and we need the match,
That is a grant.
can we just use it out of the grant match?
You could just use your highway funds.
Well,
If you're gonna
except
pay.
they may not be enough, right? Or are you gonna shift? You're just gonna shift and
You can shift priorities.
shift priorities. You're not gonna pay what you were and shift it all to Scotch Hill if you get that grant, right? That's your idea?
That's been the plan, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I mean, you could. I mean, you could,
There's possibly Furnace Street not being paid again this year.
But
you could propose 150 into grant match.
That's what I was just thinking. I
put
had said,
50 into.
yeah, go heavier on the grant match. There's more possibilities there.
And then put the 50K into equipment for DPW. Is that what that's what we did last year,
You can either, yeah.
right? Is that what? Article 8 last year.
I think Glenn was saying we should put it towards, town garage, something like that. To actually make an effort to start. Is that what I heard, Glenn?
Yeah, I mean, we're acting like we're gonna actually get one. I think,
Well, we can use
it's
that money to
not,
reduce.
it's not a
Yeah.
sure thing. We're gonna get a grant for town garage, and we're long overdue and not much money sitting towards solving that problem.
I was just kind of keep it separate because general fund last year, the town used the general fund carry forward for the new town garage, and then they
Yep.
used the DPW carry forward for public works vehicles and equipment.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you mixed it this year and put DPW into the town garage, if there were issues there or not.
No, not a problem there. After what I heard from Jim tonight, do we have, when he's talking about a fire truck replacement,
Yep.
is that fire truck replacement, after listening to Jim, should be higher on our priority list?
Do you have the reserve
Well,
account?
We have a bunch of money in that reserve.
Fire department
We don't have
reserve.
to buy the truck.
Fire department reserve has 184,000, almost 185,000.
So we're about, what, 400,000 short?
Yeah, I was gonna say you're about a quarter of the way there.
But you'll probably get something to help. Potentially.
USDA has a little bit every now and again.
Yep.
Only received $50,000 on theirs.
but
Okay.
we're still over $500,000 on the last one.
Long way short. What are we putting into that every year? Into fire reserve? 7,000.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a ways away.
So last year, we put 16,000, as an article from the fund balance, you put 16,500 in. And that was, like Jim was talking about, air packs. Turnout gear. Which is
Yep.
what's needed.
My intent was to maximize the grant match so that we could
Yeah.
get the most bang for our buck. Have you got any thoughts, Aaron, on town garage versus equipment?
So the garage is definite something we need to do. To me, even $50,000 is still not enough of a gesture to move forward on that. $50,000 buys you half of one of those, a good chunk of one of those trucks tonight that we talked about. Because we have, as well as the capital reserve allocations, this year we're funded at $8,000. That's to fund half of Joe's mower. So over the last 2 years, we've only funded Joe's new mower, not even a plow truck to keep the roads plowed. So at some point, we have to play catch up on getting these trucks on a regular schedule, whether it be using the funds, that $50,000 to help offset this first truck of those two that we talked about tonight, would help there for sure. But we do need to bolster in other areas too, hardcore, to get those.
I think you're more likely to get a new town garage with a grant and then be able to use grant match too, rather than funding it. I don't know how we're gonna do it without grant money.
How much money do we have in the new town garage? Probably not much, but
40-something, Jim?
Right, so that
Isn't
counts
that
too.
that counts towards
Yeah.
grant match.
47,000, so we're about $1.5 million away on that one.
If we put 50,000 in from,
10%. That's what I'm budgeting on.
10%.
if we put 50,000 in, we're at 97.
Yeah.
We're not.
We're not talking about a $100 million building though.
I think they
Yeah.
are.
I would imagine it would be upwards of,
The salt shed was almost 600,
yeah.
and that's no heat or electricity.
And we're not talking extravagant.
I need sugar. Not 600,000.
Yeah, that's what they bid on the
Yeah.
salt shed was.
Salt shed.
Oh, that's the bid. It's not what we were anticipating.
So it's
No, we were not.
it's not simple, but is it as simple as 150 to grant match
Yes.
and 50 to public works vehicles and equipment?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like there, Chris. I'd be all for that.
And then we come back to these other items
Well,
that's.
but wait a minute, no, you're talking two different things though.
Yes.
The 150 doesn't go towards public works.
No, 150 to grant match.
Okay,
And
I'm
then
sorry.
50 to,
Okay, okay,
public works,
I'm sorry.
vehicles and
Didn't
equipment.
hear you right.
And then, some of these are still up for conversation, but is there agreement on that for at least the fund balance
Yeah.
allocation?
I think I'm okay with that.
So let me pull my budget. So there is, last year we talked, some money was added to fire vehicles and police vehicles. There is money for police vehicles and the fire department in the budget itself. But I just wanted, everybody knows that the warrant won't have additional funding for that, just if you do it this way. You're not moving, last year we moved, fund balance into police and into fire. This year, everybody is clear that that's not.
Yeah, I think there's other priorities at this
Okay.
point, right?
Yeah.
Sure, okay. I just didn't want to be surprised at the, at the
Yeah.
end of the day. All right. So we have 150 in grant match from 010 and 50,000 into public work vehicles
And
from
equipment.
030.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so that was I, and then J, I think, is what, Joe, you're asking about the additional articles? Is that what you're?
Yes. Again, I apologize, I confused this whole process. We were doing so well, too. So on the warning, the the proposed warning, I added additional articles on page 1, and it jumps onto page 2. Numbers 1 through 15, these are the a la carte items that we talked about in the very beginning, things that weren't in the budget that are maybe needs in some cases, wants in others. So for example, $7,000 on number 6 to repair the fence around the town green. That's not in the budget, but it really is something that needs to be done.
Are you gonna go down
150.
systematically from 1 down, or you jump to number 7?
Do you want me to start? I could talk through all of them.
Yeah, is that what we're looking for?
Otherwise, we're chopping it up and
Yeah.
bouncing around.
Okay, so
Glenn, go ahead. Sorry, Joe, just one second.
Well, before we got into that detail, shouldn't we have a discussion around, last year we had 25 articles. We're gonna have roughly 25 again, and we're talking adding 17 more for
No.
taxpayers to vote on?
No.
Okay.
potentially,
Yeah.
potentially, yeah.
Potentially.
Oh, you
what
guys
I-
see
the
those
reason I
as
ask
real?
That question is, that's a lot of articles to be voting on. Is there, we may want to, there's some of these that if they're
Yeah, I think you pare that list
so far
down.
out on the wish list, that we may want to trim that list a little. That's all I'm saying.
By like 15?
Trim the list, but a lot of these should be budget items.
Yes.
I don't think we should go to voters with a wish list.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
I-
if
that's
it's,
the-
if we want it done, it should be included in the budget.
Right, if you wanna put the fence, if we wanna paint the fence, we should put it in the budget. Kind of thing, right?
Yes. Cause you're not,
It's the way we've always done it.
Otherwise, we're Castleton.
Agreed.
I would agree with both things, that it should go in the budget, and this is the way we've always done it. The way we've always done it, though, is kick the can further down. The building is sitting at, we need to paint it, it's $50,000, it should go in the budget, but we never put it in the budget because it raises the budget up over 3%. It's,
no, I would agree with that.
it's, the reason I brought it in this way is to be a little bit more transparent with the voter. It's like, we could put it in there, but it raises the budget, makes it harder to get the budget passed, because people don't see where that money's going. And if the budget is 6%, people are gonna ask, well, what are you doing, Joe?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why I did it like this,
No, I-
and you can approve all or none, it's, it's the board's warrant.
I
think if
I
you're
just
prepared
want
to
to
defend.
say that, 17, for example, look at number 10. $24,000 to put the rubberized safety material under the playground equipment. Now, put the same stuff we've used all along. If you want rubberized material, go out and let's do some, have some volunteers take and raise the money if we want the Cadillac. But I don't know that we should be going out asking for the appropriation, saying it's a nice to have, it's not a have to have.
See, that's what worries me about that playground equipment is, we were asking for 24, and you're saying that you're gonna do it for 5.
I'm saying I can put wood chips down for 5.
Okay, alright.
Multicolored rubberized safety equipment is 24.
Okay,
Yeah, I
alright.
agree with those.
It makes
I
me
mean, there
nervous.
may be
That's right.
8, 10 of those articles
Wood
that,
chips sound good.
and so that it may be appropriate to put them all on there. I'm just not comfortable putting everything I'm looking at.
And Glenn, that's why I put them all on there, so that way the board could pick and choose which ones to cut and which ones to leave.
Let's start going through them and seeing how quickly we can get rid of some of them, and then some we might agree to go back and talk about.
I don't know, I think that's good, but I think in general, I don't know the philosophy of separating all this stuff out is one that necessarily I would wanna go down.
You prefer to defend your budget at town meeting?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's just where I'm at, or we put an item in there for, capital expenditures or whatever you wanna phrase it for, repair items. I don't know,
Well,
but,
repair items absolutely should be in the budget.
yeah, which most of these are all repair items. I mean, 6 has repaired in it,
5 does.
5 has repaired in it.
4 does.
So we can pull 3 off, right? I mean, that one's just so big. And the,
I don't see how 3 gets there myself.
Yeah.
But
Can
is
we
this something, Joe, that we need a decision on these additional articles tonight, or can we still, looking at this, we might need a little more time to, and it sounds like the discussion around approach and whether they should be in articles or not, we still need a little more discussion.
I mean, number 2 is definitely something that should go on for the voters to vote on.
if you want it at all.
That is not only $10,000, but every year thereafter.
Recurring, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a substantial ongoing thing.
I mean,
I know, but
I like to, I kind of want to put it in the budget, but I think I said while we were talking to them that I'd like to see what the budget looks like with that in there. It's not just the 10,000, it's going to be all the equipment to do the things that the new rec director wants. So it's more like a $40,000 add-on, isn't it, Joe?
No. Most of what,
How can it not be?
most
You're going
of,
to tell me the next day that you want a soccer program and a golf program and a swimming program and that you need a new swimming pool.
I would love a swimming pool.
It snowballs.
Yeah, but most of what happens now is volunteers come in and then the rec director does it just on the side for free.
Mhm.
So they're out there running their own programs, just kind of off the cuff. I can't say that they're not going to ask for $1,000 of pads and soccer balls. No, I can't say that. But it's not going to be adding 30,000 on top of that. I think is maybe more.
I made
more
that
than-
number up completely, but
Yeah.
you know what
Yes.
I would like to know what their budget, what the idea was. Like, are you going to add programs when you add the? It's always been talked about that way, that we would add programs
You
when we
hire the
added the
person,
director.
you got to support them.
Sure. And what this person would do, I mean, so we think rec, we think, the kids programs like the soccer and the golf and the swim. This person would also do help with the parade. Right now, you got nobody. Literally nobody. The Legion has taken it up, and thank goodness they did.
That's in their job description, all that?
Well, it would be.
Okay.
The Fairhaven Fridays events, which you rely on me to do every Friday, but if I go out of town, nothing happens. It's this stuff. The winter, like there was a talk of winter carnival. We got somebody volunteering to do that, but there's no, if nobody steps up and says, yeah, I guess I'll do that, then nothing happens. And that's where we're at. It's just, we lack volunteers to get the ball rolling, and a part-time rec director would do these things.
I just to say that I get nervous when we add, we had, was it 8 years ago when we were talking about the police department, we wanted to separate positions in the police department out on the ballot, or no, they go in the budget. If you want a rec director, it should be in the budget, and you defend it or not at town meeting. That's just my opinion on town meeting day, and the voters vote on it or they don't vote on it. We were not separating Aaron's department out and saying, the guy that works at the transfer station, do we want that on the ballot item? It's in the budget. Just my 2 cents, but.
What I propose, Articles 1 through 6, we don't put on the ballot. Articles 7 through 10, we don't. We do put 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17.
Where did you start?
11.
Oh, non-money.
Start on page 1.
Yep. 11 to 17.
The additional articles that are sitting on page 1, the more we have the discussion, the more I feel if any of that stuff that we want should be in the budget, more and more. So I got 1 through 6, I don't think we should be going, saying that we'd like the voters to decide on this, because we couldn't decide whether we put it in the budget or not. I don't know if they're gonna understand the total impact that does for how much more taxes they're gonna pay. But the items 7, 8, 9, and 10 also look like items that if we thought were important, they should be in the budget that we're proposing to the vote on. 11 through 17 look like the type of items I would expect as articles that our taxpayers would want to say, get their say in, that are important, that shouldn't be just regular operating budget items.
What about 12 through 14? Is everybody on board? On board with those or not? 11 through 14 or 15. Those are all, do they warrant a little more discussion? You just added those because they're non-money, right?
Right.
No, we
Those
talked
are
about it throughout the year.
non-budgetary items.
We talked about it.
They're philosophical ones. I'm not sure, Jeff, if you're saying those items right there, do I support that or not? If you're saying, boy, I would like a little more discussion to understand what the ramifications of that is,
Yes.
I'm probably parked there.
Okay.
For 11, 12, 13. Right,
Yeah.
Glenn?
Well, I look at the town operates cannabis retailers on 12. I think that absolutely needs to be, because you either opt in or you opt out, and the deadline comes up, I think, in 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rather than defaulting by not making any decision, I think that we owe it to our taxpayers to let them make a decision on
Mm-hmm.
I would agree.
it, one way or another. So 11 states.
Yep.
12, where we're talking about whether the town clerk should be appointed or elected, or and the town treasurer, and the auditors. That's more of a philosophical, and I don't know if we, as a full board, have had enough discussion to put those there, so that if we were sitting in the informational meeting before town meeting, and they say, well, how do you stand on this one, board?
Right.
If we'd really be able to speak as one right now. I don't know what the rest of you think.
I don't know.
We haven't really discussed
I haven't
it.
discussed.
Right.
And so to your point, Jeff,
I would-
more discussion. I think we need to have.
As of today, I'd drop those out.
Same.
And then when you come down to, I do believe 16 and 17 states, I think people need to understand that if you authorize cannabis retail sale and you don't put the 1% option tax in, understand there's no way that you're going to help pay for some of the things that are going to be involved in maintaining and some of the issues if you have any around.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They pretty much go hand in hand.
Is there any other opinion on 12 and 13? I mean, I would agree with Jeff. If I had to vote today, I'd be a no on putting those on.
I think that we may be forced
Yeah.
to quickly and have to go for another vote. Because we won't,
If no one ran,
if no one runs,
it's mainly the
well,
treasurer.
we know that there, well, we don't know, but we
are pretty sure.
are led to believe that there is one person, at least one person running for the clerk. But we're also led to believe that there's no one running for the treasurer.
But is it different when there's an opening versus running on a ballot? Like if there was an open select board position, the select board would appoint.
Right.
But it would still be they would still run on the ballot, but if there was an open position, we would appoint somebody. does it work the same way for an
Good
open?
question.
It does.
Yeah, so,
Works the same.
It does. If there's just nobody, the board appoints.
But how do you fill that position on just 3 years? You can only offer.
you can
3
only do
years.
it until the next
Yeah.
vote. So it would be, if we did in April,
Okay,
they
so-
would have to rerun for the March of '23.
Or we would have to answer this question, get that question
Correct.
answered.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if we have that option, then we would be without a clerk for a while, but I don't see much alternative. Because we can't.
The more I look at this, Chris, I agree with you two, that I would at this time be looking to take 12, 13, 14, and 15 on until we've had some time to vet it a little more.
So, for instance, if nobody runs for town clerk in March, that would create an opening. Because it's an open position, I would believe the select board can appoint somebody at that point in time, up until March of the next year, and then they would have to run again.
Yes.
That's my understanding of the statute.
Well, no, the appointment would be until the next vote,
Like,
the next election, and they would fill that term.
No, they would, it's up
Oh,
until
so the
the
next
voters
vote.
can
The
vote
next
on
vote.
it, because the
'cause
voters actually are
If
the
you,
ones.
if you left today, or you or Glenn left today, it would only be to the next vote,
Yeah,
March.
not for the full term.
correct. That's how I read it.
Yeah, you're right, you're right.
So am I hearing that we should pull 12, 13, 14, and 15 off?
How did 15 get on there?
That was just another one that was, well, let's see what happens.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I'd
That
pull,
would be a slap in the face.
yeah. Okay, so I'll pull that one too.
Yeah.
14 is the only one I'm toying with, since we don't have any town auditors, and
Well, you were gonna run for.
yeah, I didn't, and I'm not.
I don't know enough
They,
about.
I
they
joked
serve a
about it.
function though.
They do, and I'd like them to be
The checks and
available, I
balances
guess. If
function.
what's it?
I'd
To me,
rather
if
just
they
leave it.
Status quo.
No, not leave that in, but leave the auditors
Okay,
As is.
alone.
so did we
And
strike?
Hopefully someone fills the spot.
So we struck 1 to
10.
and 12 to 15. So we left 11.
11, 16, and 17.
Carol, you were totally right. See how fast that went?
But are we putting 1 through 10 back into the budget, all of those, or are we gonna go through and decide?
It's a
what we
budget
want?
discussion.
Yes, okay.
So now, and this is why I had an article, because now we're back to the point where, okay, it's 50,000 to fix the building, are we gonna do it? No, it's too much to put
Budgeting
in the
is a
budget.
matter of priorities, and it's up to this board to set the priorities.
It's true. It's true.
And then I think I'd be inclined to add the park fence in somewhere.
I agree. It's the centerpiece of the town. It needs to be.
Now, we could always get $70,000 back in the budget by putting the water sewer back as the fee.
What did I
Putting
miss?
it back where it belongs.
Not paying, putting the 76,000, I think it is, back where it belongs in the water sewer fee structure.
You gotta do that in the other budget first,
You have to
or
do
this
it's-
budget first?
This budget would be
Yeah,
first,
This budget would be
and then it would have to go to
And-
the.
And if we want to encourage the 1% passing, then that'd be one way of doing it.
I think
I think you're assuming a lot that people will understand more than maybe we do. Unless, are we gonna be sending
I
out
think you
informational
might get-
sheets this
the
time?
message might go the other way, and you might just lose your entire budget over that.
I'm just saying that we have another option. There's $76,000 in this budget that really doesn't belong, in my opinion.
Might as well, but Rod and I weren't here last year.
Right.
Glenn?
I mean,
You lost
we can use that.
He's speechless.
The first year was,
Wasn't prepared for this one.
the first year was a, softening of the softening blow. But I think that that's $76,000 that it doesn't belong in this budget. It's, and it always had also been discussed to put it on the 1%, or put it within the 1%. And it's firmly within the definition of what we want to use the 1%, the tax for, infrastructure debt.
Right.
What I fear is that we do the 1%, and then we leave the 76 in this budget, and we pay off the 76 that is left for the ratepayers, and they have a free ride. But I'm just throwing it out there. I mean,
What? So when's
that
the,
would fund a lot of this stuff.
when's the budget approval, Joe? When do you?
December 28th.
What's today?
So
So
next
you,
week.
you have, so the next meeting should have been just, okay, this is it, this is the revenues, now, thank you, this is going on the
No, I
warning.
agree, yeah.
If we keep backing it out, we're gonna miss our deadline for print.
So there's another meeting next week?
Next Tuesday?
Have a meeting next week, absolutely.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we go through this list here and ask Joe to put it in the appropriate spot, and then we get a finalized, not a finalized budget, but a more updated budget that we could kind of see how they impacted it.
Well,
Yeah, what the
can't you
percentage
just,
is.
can't we just total them up and add it to the bottom line of the budget, rather than stick them in? That would give you your percent.
If we put it in, I bet we'd be going right back, cutting most of it back out again. That's why it was a la carte.
Yeah,
So it was important we went through the first time, it should have been there. I
Yeah.
don't think we should be, we're not there again for the
3.6. All right, where are we at with that?
This is a tough conversation.
I think
Oh, well,
we
that's
need to meet next week, it's just gonna be the budget, to talk these items, so we can get something finalized and get it back on track.
To your point, Glenn, are we gonna talk about them next week and just say, yeah, they can't go in because we're already at 3.6% anyways?
I believe you're not, we're gonna have trouble going higher.
That's
Well, the good news is that we used quite a bit of the carry forward to alleviate or mitigate any upward mobility of the budget for the truly important things. We thought, last week, that was gonna be painful just doing that.
Yep.
So if we're taking anything positive away from this experience, it's that.
And
Joe,
I agree, Rod, and also that paperwork that we got in our folders that showed that if you wanted to get under 3%, you had to go back and cut different things.
Yep.
Just wanted to make sure that if the 1% option tax gets approved, that 3.65% turns into something like, Joe, didn't we look at it earlier, it's like 0.03% increase?
Yeah, something like 0.3.
Well,
No.
yes and no, because
Not the first year.
we're telling the voters that we're gonna put it in an account and they're gonna get to
no, I've
vote
heard
on it.
us tell the voters three different things.
Yeah,
You've told
that's
them that it's infrastructure only. You've told them that the voters are gonna get to vote on that infrastructure.
Right.
Cause that wasn't in the beginning. We
No,
weren't talking that way.
Right,
It
we were
was
just gonna
sewer
use it.
or
Right,
water
right.
or,
Right,
No,
so I would like to nail that down a little more
yeah.
so
before that pamphlet goes out.
I think what I told the gentleman today was like Colchester, they vote on it. They, like Colchester votes on theirs, they
Yeah, well,
put it in the
you
account.
set the, you,
That's what
I
I
said
heard.
it, so Joe said we'd vote on it. You know,
Right,
fair
no,
enough.
that's how it was heard.
that's how it was heard.
Okay, fair enough.
But we never, well, in the beginning, we said we would use it, the board would use it for infrastructure. Debt and stuff. That doesn't necessarily, I mean, we come under the scrutiny of the voters, but we specifically said that. So basically, it's not going to write down this budget or the percentage at all unless it is infrastructure related. Now, the 76 would be the first thing that goes, in my mind, because that is infrastructure debt. And then that we could use that 76 to fund some of these things.
Yeah, so Glenn, yes, if you did pull the 70, I mean, Glenn asked about the percentage. If you pulled 76 out, you'd be at 0.3%.
And
Increase.
understanding that the 1% sales tax still leaves, on top of pulling that out, it still leaves probably $55,000 to $65,000 to use for other infrastructure projects that we could let the taxpayer vote on, whether that's to replace water lines or whatever we deem as would be appropriate for infrastructure improvement.
Yeah, I don't disagree with some of the examples that Joe used in his write-up. I mean, paving is an opportunity. I mean, that's all infrastructure.
right there.
That there's the fire truck, right?
Think
How much
so.
longer do we have on that?
Fire truck was paid off.
Paid off?
Yeah, there's zero in that.
Okay, so no debt management for the fire truck.
No debt for fire truck.
It's all public works.
Are you looking at debt management 010?
Yeah.
Come on,
No,
9150.
fuel tanks in there.
Yeah, the fire truck was paid off. Yeah, fire truck is zero funded.
Okay.
Sorry, just to go back and be a jerk real quick, I was not around for that meeting that went over the reserve funding, but we did cut that from the $30,000 down to 8. And the 8 was to get, so I could buy the municipal mower, and we only put again 8 in this year just to at least finish up buying that, but you know, TD's got all of their $10,000 back, and fire equipment got all of their $7,500 back this year. So we're still only buying a mower with our reserve allocation this year.
Plus 47.
That's just carry forward, that wouldn't, to me, that's,
But I didn't.
right. I
We didn't
understand.
put carry forward in theirs either. So.
The capital budget plan that I had brought up before, over the 10-year span, looks for funding of $107,000 over the next 10 years to fund replacing those vehicles. That'll be all the trucks and the skid steer. That's no of the bid items, like Rod talked, no loader and no excavator, because those are past that 10-year window that I've forecasted for.
$7 million every 10 years.
So I think from the discussion, we
More
can,
than 8.
we can eliminate probably 1 through 10 from the a la carte, because I think we're looking at the budget in general and how do we get down to 356. I had 369, Joe, and the. Am I looking at the right line here? Page 15. No, sorry.
I agree with you, Aaron, just to finish that discussion.
Yeah, no. What was it, Jeff? I was just looking at that. Page
Oh,
14.
The percentage increase?
Total general and public works, 3.69% increase.
Yes. That's where, yeah, that's where it sits right now.
So it's even more than the 3.56 there.
Yeah.
Glenn, where would you like to see? I think currently we're at 3.69 with how it was presented today.
Right, and everything that we're doing, I don't know where we can cut any more, but I also don't know where, I don't think we can put anything back in.
Yep.
Because on the if that 1% option tax does not go through, that 3.6 is going to be a pretty substantial increase for most people.
So for the board, I did provide the, if you're looking really to cut, I did provide kind of a suggestion sheet that shows the cuts that'll get you below 3%. In that first box, if you, it's kind of a one-pager, it looks like. Yep. And then there's a second box that has things that the board did put back in, and I know those were your priorities. That box also has further cuts that can get you lower.
How would you pull out like recycling charges?
That's, the board added, what, 6,000 or 8,000 to it.
Because of historical.
Historically, that's what was in there, and we don't seem to be having trouble with that, with transfer station. The numbers aren't, I know they don't seem to add up when you see actuals, but it must be income, and yeah, I just never raised it. It's been like that for years.
But we've also got another contract coming up in this budget cycle, not the one we're in, the one
Coming up, yeah.
How do you cut listers by 5,000?
The board added 5,000 to that. That's the very last thing that I could see cutting. I know that's a board priority. They've typically spent only $20,000. Even in the last budget, they've only spent $20,000.
About being able to get out more.
Yeah. You know, just don't go to sleep. It makes it easier.
No, it doesn't. No, it does not.
So Joe, if we go and run out, our next meeting that we have, you're gonna be coming in with, here's what the rate is, right? So your question
Which we know.
is what is it, 3.6 now?
3.69.
That's what I mean.
3.69?
Yep.
Yeah, well, a little less because the account rate came down, so it's 6.5, but I mean, it's pennies, yeah.
Yeah, and so, is the question for us right now, is that something, one more I've got with the rest of the board? I'm saying, with inflation, where we are now,
Well, we look
cost of
smart.
it now, 3.6,
Yep.
I think is where we are. I wouldn't wanna cut any much more. The only saving grace is gonna be for us is if we do get, to be able to take 70, that payment for the sewer plant, and that will only be half next year, right?
Yep. Yeah, the 76 is only half the payment.
Right. But I think if you're saying, hey, roughly, in general, how to deal, I think we've done the best we can.
And we've gone through line by line every portion of the budget. I mean, there's no fluff in this budget at all.
No,
There's not.
No, we don't
And
fluff.
everybody's done a great job, every department and the board and town manager, it's just,
Well, one could argue that we were tight last year,
Yeah.
and we
it
had,
was a fund balance.
it was about $112,000.
There's a day coming when there will not
Well,
be
no,
a
right.
fund balance.
I said one could argue.
I know.
I'm saying it's a good argument.
Yeah.
So,
But with the increase, with being a sheet of plywood now costing, $100 or something like that, things are more expensive. People are seeing it every day, and I don't know how we can keep our numbers down when the world is shooting up around us.
so Rod, to your point, I thought I didn't bring this up earlier. But you could make that point just based on the flat number that you saw tonight. What the real driver of those numbers were is that we were able to, we got additional state funding, which helped DPW. DPW spent their budget to 98.6%. They were less than 2%. They were within 2% of their budget. So there's not room to cut. 010 was over budget by $50,000. We had a lawsuit and we had legal that we had to deal with.
And you got like COVID dollars?
There was a ton of revenue that came in. We saw a lot come in through transfer station and then some
Expenditures
additional
were
state
over.
funding.
I always ask the question
So
of, is it because of expenditures not being spent, but to the average person who doesn't have all this data that we have, it looks like
There's
It-
actually,
we
it
did
does.
not spend all the money.
Boy, it does. I'm very comfortable with this budget. I do agree with Aaron. If anybody's got any stomach to put a little more in that number, I could stand behind that.
Throwing out for my math, a $5,000 tax bill, you've increased by 3.69. It's not even $200 on your tax bill over the year.
Yeah, but we've definitely heard from people who that $200 is
Hurts.
huge.
But 5,000 tax bill for just here,
Yes.
not, so, you're not even,
I hear you.
when I do my pie chart on what I pay in taxes, I thank the guys that take care of the road in front of my house, because I could never privately pay for that road to be funded the way they take care of it with that amount of money that I pay them to do it, so that's my personal.
Yes. Solid point.
So that if you bumped $2,000 up into the count Aaron was talking about, it brings you to 3.73.
I hear Aaron talking about numbers significantly higher than
I know, 2,000 is
yeah.
They're
a
rounded.
lot almost.
What's it look like if you put 20 into that account?
20 total?
Which is an additional 12,000. Which is not where he wanted to be.
4.17.
So you, And to answer your question, so 20,000 plus the debt services we're already paying, you're getting fairly close to that, what I'm looking at for the $100,000, 110 for this next round, 10-year cycle on this stuff. So that's where the discussion of do we pay it up front or pay it later? Either way, it looks like it's just over $100,000 to do the job. So.
I think we may need to flex to like a 12-year just so that we can make the, 80,000 work.
What do you mean flex to a 12-year?
Instead of a 10-year replacement. That's what you're
So
counting on,
that's
is a 10-year replacement.
No, 10-year window.
It's a
So
10-year
that
window.
10-year
Once
window.
Every
estimate.
6 years or something like that.
Certain trucks are replaced every 7 years, certain trucks are replaced every 10 years, but this is a 10-year window I projected out.
I guess what I'm saying is extend all of those 1 year and you drop your cost some. And you may,
On the capital, you might pay it in repairs.
in repair, right,
Yep.
we're on the same page, but you can you'd still be closer than you are today.
The big thing is just taking, at some point, and making that plan something that we do. Because if I go through those file folders, I can show you capital plans that have been rewritten every 2 to 3 years.
Every 2 years, yeah.
Working on that.
Yep.
But what are we doing with Articles 1 through 10? Are those just going away? Or not putting them back in the budget, so like fixing the fence in the park is.
You guys are gonna shoot me, but that
Off the
park one I
table.
would put in too.
We haven't.
Chris,
How
Four
can we
point
not? I mean,
Because how could we not put 50 grand in the town hall that's falling apart?
Right.
There's
so.
everybody's
all of them
losing
are off
out.
the table.
I don't know. Just there's so many needs in areas that need funding. I don't know where you.
We just
Well,
put,
it's,
I wonder if that $50,000 estimate is in the same category as the $600,000 estimate or bid for the
Salt shed.
the salt shed, which is hugely inflated. I mean, the engineers, the state, everyone thinks it should be, 20% of that, roughly.
that's where it started, was about 20% of that.
Right,
yeah.
that's the more realistic. But it was inflated because of COVID, because it's an opportunity.
I don't know.
It's
We
a-
paid $10,000 to have our house painted. And we weren't ripped
crazy.
off.
no.
But are we talking about the painting the whole building or
No.
just the
Woodwork.
lights and the trim?
The trim, and fixing the wood and.
Yeah, that's
again,
okay.
On,
There's
oh, on the, okay,
significant
I took it as
maintenance in the
whole
wood too, right?
exterior
No.
town.
Yeah, I got birds and
Most
squirrels.
of this is brick.
Yeah.
It's painted red brick, but the red paint's not in bad shape. It's the soffits
The
and
white,
the trim. And there's some,
I think
affected wood.
I think there's significant affected wood though.
Yeah, we're gonna lose the nice pieces.
I didn't look at it.
Yeah, I would agree.
So
But-
per,
$10,000 to do a whole house, $50,000 to do.
Well, remember it's
the trim.
30 feet up too.
that's where the cost
It
was
seems
coming,
to
was the
bump the
lift.
cost. I mean,
Yeah.
There's rental of equipment, or even if they're not renting it,
no, but they
cost.
nail you for it.
Okay.
The only thing in 1 through 10 that I would say would benefit all of the taxpayers is probably the park fence. Maybe the outside of this building, but the rest are all great, but they really only serve a certain part of the population.
I was gonna ask, perhaps choose one, I know you're averse to the article, but choose one article instead of like 10. And just drop it in and see, maybe people will vote yes, and then maybe next year we can say we'll do another one, like one project a year kind of idea. It's a lot to throw at everybody all at once, but, I think it's a nice exercise to see what's needed.
There's a lot of emotion around the park
I
and the
think-
pride that people take in it. It's not a lot of money.
I think people will vote that in,
Yeah.
and I would just put it in the.
I would put it back in.
Joe, if you put 7 grand in the budget for the park fence, but leave Aaron where he's at.
Leave Aaron at 8.
Oh, Aaron.
Yes. What does that do?
I have a beautiful new playground with a crappy fence around it.
Yep.
I guess that's the way it goes.
Mhm.
Next year's
Yep.
opportunity.
There's also just
Same
gonna be
with baseball
sand
diamond,
underneath.
and last summer, a lot of people kicked in to
It's not
volunteer
that
to
bad.
get that
Mhm.
spruced up.
So that 7,000 puts you at 3.95.
I thought we were 4 point something.
No,
with
he took
Aaron's.
Aaron back out.
I took Aaron out.
Aaron's
Oh.
out.
Aaron's out, park fence is
Aaron
in.
lost, park fence is in.
That's what I asked him to do yesterday.
Oh, that's what, oh, I thought you said leave Aaron in.
No, I said
Oh.
take Aaron out and put the
Oh,
park
okay.
fence on.
And Glenn's asleep.
Glenn? Do we still have?
No, I'm not. You can't understand, I'm
Well, I
looking
am.
at $7,000 to paint the fence and trying to figure out why I had a bunch of volunteers from the high school that were willing to paint it, but it didn't get painted, and it would have been done for a fraction of that cost. And now we're talking, yeah, we can pay top dollar if you wanna keep hiring everything out. Sooner or later, if people wanna keep their taxes down, it means people volunteer, they come and do, they come and do the work. It's one of those that we just don't, we're not rolling in money. But then again, I look, and if you put it on and ask the voters, it'll probably get voted in just like $340,000 in appropriations. That always amazes me, how blindly we say yes to everything that's there, so, and then complain about taxes.
Mm.
Yep.
That's what
Because people don't understand appropriations.
They think it's in the budget.
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
It must be magic money.
Alright, well,
Is,
I'd leave it in.
I'm sorry to ask this question, but the recreation director, do
Mhm.
we not have one now? I thought we had one.
She does baseball
very
and
part-time.
summer.
She doesn't get
Part-time,
paid like
part-time.
this.
This
Yeah,
is, this is a full part-time.
That would effectively
Something
like
like that.
double her salary, right?
It's,
The
but it's not
10,000
10,000,
would-
only 10,000. It's
Yeah.
going
Cover
to
it.
generate
It'd make it
other
like double,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
needs.
Isn't that what's in
Something like that. Yeah. Not quite double, but yes.
Too bad.
But you see, I think anytime the town is looking to hire a new head count, it should go in front of the voters. I mean, certainly if we were looking to hire a new police officer, I mean, it's gotta go in front of the voters. Same thing with Public Works. I mean, it's a new head count, and all of the stuff that goes with the head count has to be considered.
Yeah, number 7, I mean, I seriously do want to go home, but we've all been talking, since I've been on the board,
Yeah.
about promoting our town and getting people to come here and wanting
Right.
people to work here, and a good website is something that helps with that, but. it's gotta
Do we
go,
have a
it's
bad
gotta go.
website?
Yes, our
Yes,
website
we do.
sucks.
thanks, appreciate it.
Oh.
We don't
It was
have-
really nice when it was new
We've
though.
been waiting for that.
We don't
I'm
have
joking, I
a
don't care.
Tyson.
It was 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I was gonna
that's
say,
the
it's just a
problem.
little-
We don't have an updated.
Back when you didn't know how to code.
Look at Rutland's new website.
What's that, Glenn?
As we're talking about all these monies, like the $7,000 and like the website, I expected, because we've been hearing from 2 different groups that said ARPA funding, they'd like the website done. That's where I liked it. The free money that doesn't, that's one time, do the website, that's where you pay for that instead of taking and continually raising the taxes. I just think there's ways we can get. If painting the park fence is that important, then it'll come out from our community input that $7,000 of ARPA funding that we have sitting in the bank account right now should go to paint that fence. $8,000 should go to do the website if it's a critical thing for us to do. I don't think they have to put it in an article and vote it.
I don't disagree.
Right, yeah.
So are we gonna approve the budget as presented tonight, or not? Or do we continue next week?
I think we're kind of settled on the budget, right? It's just
What are the extras?
left
Yeah.
hanging. If we could decide that in the next 3 minutes or less. But
How-
we wouldn't have
I
to
put
have
it
another
from
meeting next week.
3.5 to 3.9. What is the budget
I don't think that's the big deal.
us to vote on?
3.65, I believe.
3.6? 3.65 I can support.
6.9 or 6.5?
6.5.
6.5.
Because he adjusted something
He
during the,
That does not have any additional for Aaron or the fence in there.
Right,
Glenn.
that's
Right.
correct.
Just so you're
As
clear.
we discussed prior to the added
Yeah.
items.
That is correct.
There's a difference between loving it and supporting it. I could
Oh, I
support
agree.
it, I don't love it.
in an ideal world, we put $200,000 in the budget to address some of these deferred items, but we've kicked the can and we're gonna continue to kick the can down the road.
Well, I don't wanna
Go ahead.
douse the flames, but we have a wild card sitting out there in the form of
Option?
contracts.
Oh. Yeah, what is the intent on that?
Well, that's on the agenda to discuss in executive session, but how right are we on the,
Let's just go with what we have and hope for the best.
What else can you do? You're just guessing.
Yep.
Pretty clearly gonna be low, right?
All right, so if we make a motion to pass the budget at 3.69, then the rest of these things, the fence will be.
365?
365 will be, the fence will be taken care of in another manner. The rest of these, 1 through 10, are going away for now, correct?
They may also be taken care of in ARPA. They
Mhm.
paint
Some
this
of those
building.
things, yeah.
Some of them.
Yeah.
When's the
Okay.
first public hearing scheduled for ARPA?
On the 7th is the last day, and then we can schedule, if we're gonna meet on the 11th, we could do it on the 25th.
Don't we have a meeting on the 25th?
Oh, no, yeah, we can't do it then, because we're doing the,
1%.
because we're doing February 8th.
There's tons of money out
There,
there. Really is.
Oh, February.
there is, a lot of the stuff we can scrape up money for, but basic maintenance, which is what we've,
tough.
nobody funds basic maintenance. Like, do you wanna paint? Because we don't
Maybe
fund that.
Find a different way to, like as a website as an example, you could make a case for that not being maintenance because it's 10 years old, but because we've lost people
Well,
due
just shut it.
to, I don't know, type to COVID somehow, that we need to build back our community.
Mm.
You know,
ARPA
stuff
can't
like
be used
that.
for maintenance?
No other grants. No,
Oh, other
ARPA can,
grants,
I
yeah.
think
But
ARPA's
ARPA
pretty
can.
open for
Yeah, so we can,
Right,
yeah,
so-
very much make a case for that.
Joe, what was the one change you made tonight to get it from 369 to 365?
It was the accountant salary.
Oh, yes.
It came down like $1,000 or something.
All right, well, then I'll make a motion to pass the budget as presented with a 3.65% increase for the coming year.
Alright. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Carol, seconded by Glenn to approve the budget with a 3.65 increase as presented by the town manager tonight. Questions, comments on the motion?
I still think it's not quite enough, but we've all got to agree, so.
Don't have to.
Oh, 3 of us have to agree.
3 of us have to agree, but I'd still like to see.
We are kicking a can.
Yep.
but
Oh, for
You
sure.
can only do so much in 1 year.
Agreed.
And we can try to do some of the stuff, the
Some one-time
really
thing.
important stuff with ARPA funding.
Yep.
And, and hopefully we can get good financing and
Yep.
and grants to do the rest, to help us out.
That 150 will go a long way. The grant match.
All right, any other questions? Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Joe, you don't need a motion for the,
You don't need to
fund
warn.
balance stuff because that's gonna be just on the warning when we approve it.
Yeah, you can approve it when we do the warning. On the 11th, I will bring back the budget for your final, just see what you approved, along with the revenues that will coincide with the budget. One last look at the warning, and then we have to have a special meeting on the 14th because that's when petitions are due. And then whatever petitions will go on, if anything comes in.
Now, the $1,000 we're now collecting as a permit, is that in the revenue projection? You're gonna put it in the revenue projection?
I'm glad you said that because I forgot to even put that in there. So yes, it will be.
All right, any further
We're
budget?
collecting that in April.
Yeah, I don't think,
It'll be under the current year.
It would follow.
Well,
yes.
I mean, what if he doesn't decide to do it next year?
Yeah, that's true.
I heard April.
I'd,
Yeah,
I'd
right.
see
Oh,
what,
that's right.
I would
But it's a
see
year,
what happens.
it's a yearly though, so it would be,
Let's let a year go,
Let it go.
right?
Yeah, it's gonna be revenue,
Unanticipated revenue.
unanticipated.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't even know if he's actually gonna come in and get that permit.
Oh, I think he's gone through this much.
I'm gonna go find him and
He's
maybe
gonna
I'm
do
gonna
it
give him a permit.
Sooner than later.
Yeah.
all right,
So we don't
any,
change our mind.
parking lot items?
All set.
Okay.
Does the board mind if I add some things?
17 more.
No, just two more. I'm working on the policy cap reserves right now. A capital plan policy to clear up what Aaron's talking about to keep the churning of it. And then a class 4 road policy. I know Munger Road is floating out there and we've, just to kind of tighten up what we do with our class 4s.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, and I'll bring those sooner rather than later because they seem to be pretty easy lifts.
Board roundtable?
I'll pass.
The only thing I had was the board report, and I know Joe's been after me to get it to him, but I kinda wanted to wait till we were done with budget discussion, so we could
Yeah.
include some of that in there, so I'll work on it this weekend and, share it out. Feel free to whatever, give Joe your suggestions, I guess. I'll do it and let Joe share it out.
Alright.
And then you guys can let Joe know your suggestions. Review of finance reports, Jeff?
Motion to pay the payroll warrant, $33,941.53.
Is there a second? Motion by Jeff, seconded by Rod for the payroll warrant. Any questions on that?
Seems to be in the zone.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Aye. First one.
And then the payroll?
General fund warrant.
Oh, you
Motion,
did. Sorry, yeah.
motion to approve. $129,969.83. There's a passive payment and a VEMR's payment and a Blue Cross payment. 28.41 for that is VEMR's, right?
Yeah.
28 for passive, 41 for VEMR's, and 14 for Blue Cross. So that's the big portion of it.
So that motion was by Jeff for the general fund, seconded by Rod. Any further questions? Comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Checkbook status?
$974,468.57.
Okay, executive session? Motion for that?
No one saw that.
Motion to move into executive session at 10:22.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Carol, seconded by Rod for labor relations executive session. 1 VSA 313A1. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries.